emergent, because if people start, answering questions during the presentation, it's very hard for me to finish the presentation. So we only have an hour plus 30
Emergent,
minutes of
because if
Q&A. Sounds good?
yes, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So welcome to the Wealthy Trustee webinar. I am your host, Christina Yvette. So I will tell you a little bit about myself in just a moment. I want to give you guys a disclaimer that this is not legal advice or tax advice. So I'm not a licensed attorney or a certified public accountant, okay? So I am a trust strategist, and what you're going to learn in this webinar is what is a trust, how who are the contributors of a trust, how to operate it, some wealth strategies, some tax saving strategies, and about asset protection, okay? So my question to you is, how do these companies, right? Just for you to think about, right? How is it that these companies like Amazon and Facebook and Berkshire Hathaway and the Trump organization, how is it that they pay little to no taxes, right? We've heard the Bezos, the Warren Buffetts, the Trumps say that they either don't pay taxes because they're smart or they pay less taxes than their secretary, okay? So it's because they have a trust within their organization. And so that's what I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you a strategy on how you can be properly structured, okay? So I am a trust strategist. I have been a trustee since 2015. I have been operating a trust for 10 years, and what I'm teaching you is based on experience, okay? It's not a guessing game or just something that I grabbed off the internet, okay? So I have been in the trenches operating as a trustee, and I teach you from a standpoint of trusteeship and how you can actually operate a trust, okay? I am also a real estate investor. So the way that I got started into trusteeship was actually by way of real estate. Okay. And I absolutely, absolutely love real estate. And I'll tell you more about it in a little bit. But what led me into this journey was I was actually a registered nurse, and working as a registered nurse was very challenging. Okay. So I know a lot of people, they love their jobs, they love their 9 to 5. I was working a 7 to 7, and I was working 7 days a week. Right. And so that is like at a point where it's like inhumane for you to be working, so many days, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and you're in what I call this concrete box. And you are spending more time with your coworkers than you are with your own family. And so I was at that point where I realized that that's exactly what I was doing. And I was young at that time, so I started my career when I was 23. And what ended up happening was I got so frustrated with just being in that situation that one day I was driving to work and I heard this guy named Dan Merrill, right? And he is a big time real estate investor. And so he gets on the radio and he's like, "Do you want to learn how to flip houses?" And so I'm driving to work all frustrated. I'm like, "Yes, I want to learn how to flip houses," right? So a month later, I signed up for this 3-day seminar and I attend the seminar. And in these 3 days, I learned so much about real estate, you guys, that I absolutely fell in love with real estate. And 6 months after that, I end up getting a mentor and I end up buying my first property, right? And so this property is it was at that time, a little 2 bedroom, 1 bath house. And I bought it for 89,000 and I ended up selling that house for $235,000. And so that was my first step towards financial freedom. But I had a mentor, and my mentor told me, you have to put that property into a trust. And young, 25, don't know nothing, inexperienced. I'm like, well, what is a trust? And so he taught me how to set up my trust, and I go down this whole rabbit hole, and I end up setting up the trust, putting the property into the trust because I could not risk losing that property, right? This was my ticket out of the rat race. It really was, right? And so I did exactly what I was told by my mentor, and I put that property into a trust, right? Because anything could have happened, right? When you're doing renovations, when you're flipping houses, people could slip and fall, they could step on a nail, they could get hit by plywood, anything could happen. And so you're putting yourself in a position to where you can get sued. And a lot of us, we are putting ourselves in those types of positions right now, where we're highly likely of getting sued, but we're walking around here thinking that we're not going to get sued. And so you can't be walking around here thinking that no one's going to sue you because you live in the United States of America. Everyone literally wants to sue you, okay? And so you have to think about that, and you have to think about it from a preventative standpoint so that you know, hey, I'm fully protected, right? And so, like I said, I've been operating within trust ever since, okay? And it's something that I absolutely love to, teach about and show people. So you'll see like how passionate I am about it. That's why it's pretty much the only thing that I talk about, right? I don't talk about real estate investing. I have a seven-figure portfolio, but that's not what I'm here to talk about, right? I'm here to talk about trust because trust is a foundation, right? There's no way for you to get to six figures or seven figures if you don't have a solid foundation, okay? So let's just dive in and let me tell you guys what a trust is, because a lot of you guys, you hear the term trust, right? You hear the term trust, you hear the term trust fund, but a lot of you don't know what it is. And some of you guys are so intimidated, right, that you don't even want to venture into getting to know what a trust is, right? But one thing that I will tell you about a trust is that it is the most powerful entity in the world, not in the United States, not in the Caribbean, not in Europe, not in all these places, in the entire world, okay? So every single continent and every single country operates within trust. They have trust entities, okay? And so it is so, so extremely powerful. And that's why you don't know anything about it. That's why the information provided on trust is so limited. That's why you're convinced that you don't need a trust, right? Because it's so powerful. Why is it so powerful though? Because a trust can do anything and everything that a natural person can do. Your LLC and your corporation can't do everything that you can do, but a trust can't, right? And so a trust is actually seen as a living, breathing entity. You are an entity, a trust is an entity, okay? You are living and breathing, a trust is also living and breathing, okay? So now how does this entity actually come into existence? Well, it comes into existence by way of a contract, okay? So the way that you're going to actually set up a trust is you're going to set up a contract. Now, there's two parts to the contract that I really want you to know about. The first one is the indenture. That is the rules and regulations and the bylaws, okay? So that is where you're going to put the do's and don'ts, or how you want the trust to be operated, okay? By who? By the trustee. And then the next part is the declaration. That is where you're declaring what it is and what it is not. So you're declaring, hey, this contract, I'm setting up a trust. And I'm not setting up a joint venture, a corporation, or an LLC. I'm setting up a trust, okay? So now once you're done with that contract, it needs to be legalized. But there's several different parties to the contract that I need you to know. So who are the parties in the contract? The first one is the grantor. That is the creator of the trust. That is the person who is actually creating the trust and doing the initial donation for the trust, right? So they're donating something. It could be $1, it could be $100, it could be a house, a car, whatever, okay? And so the grantor is actually setting up the trust for the benefit of someone else or something else. Who is that someone else or something else? Those are the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are the inheritors of the trust, okay? So they are the individuals or entities that are going to receive the assets that are owned by the trust, okay? And so sometimes you'll hear different terms, okay, when you are thinking about these parties. So for example, grantor, another term that you might hear when you start to do your research, because I need you to do your due diligence, okay? So when you start to do your research, you need to look and see if you see these terms. So for a grantor, you might see the term settlor. You might see the term trustor. They mean the same thing, which is creator, okay? So for beneficiaries, you might see other terms like inheritor or holders, right? Holders of what? Trust certificate units. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. I'll touch on it briefly, okay? Now, the next party involved is the trustee. The trustee is the controller of the trust, okay? Another term that you might hear referring to the trustee is fiduciary, Okay, so what is the fiduciary responsible for? Well, they are responsible for maintaining the assets that are inside of the trust. Okay, so those assets need to be maintained for the benefit of the beneficiaries. Okay, and so they're going to do the day-to-day operations of the trust, whatever that looks like, right? That could be managing a bank account, that could be paying utilities, that could be acquiring a property, whatever that looks like. The trustee is the individual that's going to be signing on the dotted line, okay? So you need to be very mindful of these three very important parties when you are doing your research about a trust, okay? So let's continue on. Now, there's different types of trust, okay? There's hundreds of different types of trust. You need to figure out which one is the best type of trust for you. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to tell you several different categories that all trusts fall under, okay? You need to know this, okay? So the first category that I want to tell you guys about is express versus implied. An express trust is a trust that is written, okay? That means that it is written on a contract. You see it in black and white. You have physical paper that you can actually touch, okay? That is what an express trust is. Now, on the contrary to that, you have an implied trust. The implied trust is a verbal trust, right? Meaning a verbal agreement that you kept that way verbally. So there is no black and white. There is no contract or anything, okay? So just like how you can have a verbal agreement between two people, you can set up a trust verbally, okay? Because at the end of the day, all the trusts that have ever been created, they first started verbally and then they were expressed on paper, okay? So you need to be mindful of those two different types of trust, okay? Categories. Now, let's move on to the next category, okay? So the next one that I want to tell you guys about is simple versus complex, okay? And the reason why I talk fast is because there's a lot of information that I want to teach you guys, and it's already 7:22, okay? So I'm going to talk fast so I can kind of get everything in, and then we can dive into Q&A, okay? If you guys don't mind. Now, what I want to tell you guys about is simple versus complex. A simple trust is shorter in nature. That means that it has less provisions, right? Less rules and regulations or things that the trustee has to do. And with a simple trust, the unique thing about it is that it's required to distribute 100% of the trust funds, okay? So everything that comes in needs to go out, okay? So that's what a simple trust. Now, the next type is the complex trust. With the complex trust, the beautiful thing about that is that it's longer in nature, so there's more provisions, right? There's more rules, regulations, and what we call bylaws. Because there's more provisions and stuff, one of the beautiful things that the trustee can do is they can actually hold those trust funds, okay? So that means that the funds or the income that comes into the trust doesn't have to be distributed, okay? So if $1 million came in and you wanted to hold all $1 million inside of the trust, you can do so, okay? All right, so let's talk about the next category, which is discretionary versus non-discretionary. So a discretionary trust is a trust where the trustee has full discretion to be able to do things or carry out tasks for the trust that are not spelled out inside of the contract, okay? So one example that I love to give is if you are the trustee and you decide, hey, I want to go buy XRP tomorrow, you can go do that even though nowhere inside of your trust does it say anything about you going and investing in XRP, okay? So that's discretionary, meaning that the trustee can do everything in their discretion that's going to be in the best interest of the trust organization, okay? Now, you have non-discretionary, which is the total opposite. So what non-discretionary means that the trustee is not able to do things that are not inside of the contract, okay? So that means that you have some limitations and it can be challenging when you're operating a trust that's non-discretionary, okay? All right, so let's move on to the next category. The next category that I want to share with you guys is statutory versus non-statutory, okay? So with a statutory trust, every single state has its own laws. These laws are called state statutes, okay? Now, with these state statutes, what happens is if you have a statutory entity or what we call a statutory trust, those state statutes are embedded inside of the trust contract, which means that your jurisdiction is going to be limited to just that one state, which means that you can only operate that trust in that one state. So if you set up a trust in Texas, you can only operate it in Texas. It doesn't matter if you have property in California or Georgia or New York or anywhere else, okay? So you're limited. The other thing is that with a statutory trust, most likely it is public, which means that you go to the state and you register, and now people know and are aware of the existence of your trust, right? Which could be very detrimental to your organization or the legacy that you're leaving for your family, for you to then have it registered with the state, okay? All right, so that's discretionary. Let's talk about non-discretionary. So with non-discretionary, it's the total opposite. So what we mean by
I thought
this
you said
is that
statutory.
with, I'm
I'm
sorry?
sorry. I thought you said statutory versus non-statutory.
Yes, I moved on already.
But because you originally started with the discretionary and then you went to the statutory. But
Mhm.
you were saying the diff. But when you started up just now, you said the discretionary, and I thought you were still on the statutory versus non-statutory trust.
I
Yeah,
am I am
she
still on it.
she
Okay,
meant
I'm sorry.
she meant to
My
say
apologies.
non-statutory. Yeah.
Yes, so I just spoke about the statutory trust. So we have two
Okay,
categories, statutory versus non-statutory. So let's
gotcha.
start over, okay? So with that being said, right, when you have these two types of categories, every single trust, right, the trust that you have in your hand right now, it's either going to fall under the category of being statutory or non-statutory. If it's statutory, it has state statutes embedded inside of the contract. If it's non-statutory, it does not have any state statutes embedded inside of the contract. So because it doesn't have any state statutes embedded inside of the contract, that means that you can actually use it in the entire country. Okay. That means that you can use it in all the 50 states, all the US territories, okay? Because it's not restricted to just one state, okay? So that can be very advantageous for you, okay? And so that means that it's also not going to be registered with the state. It's going to be unregistered, okay? And that is beneficial for you because you want your trust to remain private, okay? You don't want it to be a public trust that is in the public records, okay? So that's just a little piece of what I can say about non-statutory. Now let's move on to the last category that I want to explain to you guys. So the last category is revocable versus non-revocable, okay? So with a revocable trust, once again, every single trust falls under either revocable or non-revocable, okay? It's either or. Now, with a revocable trust, what are we referring to? We are referring to the grantor having the ability to make changes or not make changes, okay? So with a revocable trust, what we're saying is that the grantor can make amendments, the grantor can terminate the trust, the grantor can take back property from the trust, the grantor can remove or change the trustees and the beneficiaries, okay? So because the grantor has so much power and control, creditors can actually come after the trust. So your assets, unfortunately, are not protected in a revocable trust, okay? Your assets can actually end up in lawsuits and they can end up in probate, okay? If your revocable trust is contested, okay? So with a revocable trust, because your assets are not protected, what can happen is they can actually end up in litigation, right? Your trust can end up in litigation, and the judge can decide to pierce through that trust because it's revocable, okay? And that's only because the grantor has so much power and so much control, okay? Now, if the judge decides to pierce through that trust, that means that you have to now produce your trust in court. If you are required to produce your trust in court, what happens is your trust automatically becomes a part of the public records. So anyone who wants to be able to look at your case, they can see every single page that's on your trust. They can see the net worth of the trust. They can see the assets. They can see who the beneficiaries are, right? And so that's very challenging because one thing that you definitely want to do is you want to protect that legacy, and you don't want anyone to know who your beneficiaries are. You don't want anyone to know the assets that you have inside of your trust, who the other different parties are, what provisions you have inside of your trust. So your job is to keep your trust out of the public records as much as possible, okay? Now, let's talk about the irrevocable trust, okay? So remember, when we are describing revocable or irrevocable, we're only talking about one party out of the three parties. That one party is the grantor. So now with the irrevocable trust, what we're saying is that the grantor does not have any power and any control, meaning that they cannot terminate the trust if they wanted to. They cannot remove trustees or beneficiaries. They cannot remove assets that are inside of the trust, and they cannot amend the trust or make changes to the trust. Okay. So because the grantor has no power and no control, your assets are fully protected. Creditors that are associated with the grantor or even the trustee are unable to go after the irrevocable trust. Okay. If an irrevocable trust was to end up in litigation, the judge would decide not to pierce through an irrevocable trust due to contract law. Okay. So that means that your trust is going to remain private and outside of the public records, which is ideally what you want. Okay. All right. So now that you guys understand the different categories that every single trust falls under, what you need to do is how to actually create a trust. Step one is for you to determine the type of trust that's best for you. Okay. Now, this is the type of trust that I recommend. Okay. Out of all the categories that I just told you, what you want is a trust that is express, a trust that is complex in nature, a trust that is discretionary, a trust that is non-statutory, and lastly, a trust that is irrevocable. Okay. So that means that your trust needs to have or fall under those five categories. Okay. That is what we call a bulletproof trust. That means that that trust is going to be impenetrable in court and that your assets are 100% fully protected. Okay. So do your due diligence when it comes to the different types of trust and the best one for you and your family, okay? So now let's move on to step two. So now you've done your research, you've determined the type of trust that you want to create, okay? So now that you've determined that, the first thing that you should be doing, right, is naming the trust. Just like how you named your LLC, just like how you named your newborn baby, just like how your parents named you, you also need to name the trust, okay? So there's two things that I need you to know when it comes to naming your trust, okay? The biggest mistake that I see a lot of people in society make is that they name the trust after themselves, okay? So please do not name the trust after yourself, okay? Because it's a dead giveaway. So for example, if your name is John Smith, do not name the trust the John Smith Trust. Why? Because if somebody's trying to come after you, they're going to see that there's a trust named after you, okay? And so then they're going to know that you're associated with that trust, and they're going to attempt to go after the organization. You don't want that, okay? So don't make that mistake. So now, simple things that you can do is you can make, not make, but use abbreviations. You can use your initials. You can use other terms, right? So a lot of people, they'll use the word legacy or dynasty or empire or holdings, whatever it is that you want, right? So just use very two distinct names. So one name that I like to give is sunflower, right? So my favorite flower is a sunflower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this trust today and I'm going to call it the Sunflower Estate, right? Does the Sunflower Estate have anything to do with Christina Yvette? No. So are they going to know or think that I'm associated with the Sunflower Estate? No, because if I don't disclose that I'm the trustee, they're not going to know who the trustee is, okay? Now, one thing that you should have noticed is that Sunflower Estate doesn't end with the word trust. So just like how your LLCs have to end in trust and your corporations have to end in Inc., a trust does not have to end with the word trust. So remember, we're trying to keep our organization private, so we don't even want them to know, right? Whoever them is, we don't want them to know that it is a trust entity, okay? So let their minds wonder, okay? So with that being said, those are the two things that I need you to keep into consideration when you're naming your trust. Do not use the word trust in the actual name, and do not name it after yourself, okay? With those two things, you'll be golden. Now, let's talk about appointing the different parties. Remember, I previously told you that there's three parties, right? You got a grantor, trustee, and beneficiary, okay? So you have to go and appoint those parties. Now, the type of trust that I recommend that you guys obtain is an irrevocable trust, which means that the grantor and trustee cannot be the same person, okay? So you have to appoint someone as your grantor, and you're going to then be the trustee of the organization, okay? If you want to maintain all the power and control. Now, as far as the beneficiaries can be your children. They can also be another entity. So just think about that, okay? And lastly is the successor trustee. So the successor trustee is the individual who's going to take over after you in the event that something happens to you. So a lot of us, we walk around in invincible, like as if tomorrow is promised, but really in actuality is not promised, right? And so you need to appoint the next person in line. Right? So who's going to take over after you if something happens to you? Like if you become incapacitated, if you expire, or if you decide, hey, I don't want to operate this trust anymore, I'm going to go ahead and resign, then someone needs to be readily available, and they're going to pick up where you left off, and they're going to continue to operate the trust. That is your successor trustee, okay? So you're having all the power and control now, and when you have no power and control anymore, you're going to pass it on to the next person in line, which is the successor, okay? So keep those positions in mind, because you're going to have to appoint those people, okay? So let's move on to number 3. So in number 3, what we're saying here is create the trust agreement. Remember, the trust is a contract. You have to actually establish this contract. You have to create it. You have to put all the bylaws. You have to put all the provisions, okay? One thing that I need you to be aware of is spendthrift provisions. Spendthrift provisions are the most beautiful thing ever invented, okay? That is where you're putting yourself in a position to where you're controlling the money from the grave. What do we mean by that? Well, what is a spendthrift, right? A spendthrift is a beneficiary that did not work for the money, but they're doing everything in their power to blow the dough. Okay, that's what a spendthrift is. And so, what you want to do is, because you want to control the money from the grave, you're going to put different provisions on how they're able to access these trust funds. Okay, and so they're going to access the trust funds via distributions. And so, one spendthrift we put is an age restriction. So, what we say is, hey, you have to be 25 years old in order to receive your distribution. Now, why would you do that? Well, at 25 years old, usually people have graduated from college, they've started their career, they probably started a family, got married, bought a first house. They have reached a level of maturity to where they know now how to best allocate their distributions, okay? So that's one of the examples. Another one that we put is an age restriction, right? Not age, education restriction. So with the education restriction, some of you guys, right, want to put like a requirement for college. Not me, but other people, right? They believe so hardly in college that they're like, hey, you have to have a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree, or you have to major, you have to be a doctor, or whatever it is, right? And so you can put that education restriction in there to let them know, hey, you have to have some type of level of education, whatever it is, maybe some type of financial literacy or apprenticeship or anything like that, in order for you to access these funds, okay? So those are just 2 examples. Another one is if you want to put parameters of how they can spend the money, right? So for example, you can say, hey, you can only spend the money on living expenses, education, and investments like real estate, right? And so if they don't spend the money in those 3 categories, they will not be eligible for a future distribution, right? But those are just examples, right? So let's move on to number 4, which is notarize the trust, right? So how do we legalize the trust, right? So the trust is a contract. It needs to be legalized. And so what we do is we are going to have our signatures. So there's 2 signatures that are required. The first one is the grantor. The second one is the trustee. Both signatures are required in order for the trust to be notarized, okay? So a notary public is going to witness both signatures. Now, once all 3 signatures are on the contract, then what we're saying is that the contract is fully executed. Once the contract is fully executed, you can start operating the trust. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to apply for an EIN. An EIN stands for Employer Identification Number, and that's something that you get for free with the IRS. It's going to allow you to open up a bank account for the trust, okay? So after you have executed the trust contract, you're going to go ahead and get an EIN, and then you're going to go ahead and open up a bank account, okay? So let's talk about number 5, right? So what does it look like for you to actually open up a bank account? Well, you can go to a bank, you can go to a credit union, or you can go to any financial institution that offers trust accounts, okay? So sometimes you have your brokerage firms that also offer trust accounts like Charles Schwab, Fidelity, okay? So what you're going to bring with you is 2 things. You're going to bring with you the EIN confirmation letter that you received from the IRS, and you're going to bring the second thing, which is your certificate of trust. Your certificate of trust is proof of identification that the trust actually exists, right? So just like how you walk around with a driver's license, and if somebody asks you to produce ID, you're able to produce this little tiny document that has your name, your address, your height, all kind of stuff, right? So the trust is also the same way. It has to produce ID. Okay, the trust is buying houses, cars, credit cards, bank accounts, everything, you name it. Okay, so with that being said, the trust needs to produce ID. So the ID that the trust produces is the certificate of trust that has what? The name, the date of birth of the trust, the EIN number, the address, who the different parties are, all kind of stuff. Okay, and so that's what you're going to produce to the bank so that they're able to open up a trust account for you. So now that you have opened up a trust account, you have to fund it, okay? So some banks are $100, some banks are $500, some banks are $1,000. So it just depends on what bank you have decided to establish a banking relationship with, okay? Now, the types of accounts that you would normally open up for a trust is a checking account, a savings account, a money market account, or what we call a cash management account, okay? And so those are what we consider trust funds, okay? So that is a bank where you're going to store money that belongs to the trust. It's called a trust fund, okay? So that's that fancy word that you hear out in society, okay? Now, let's move on. So now that we have opened up our bank account, right? We have to take the most important step. The most important step out of this whole entire thing that we're going over is for you to actually transfer the assets into the trust, okay? Now, this is the biggest mistake that I see a lot of people make, okay? They go to the extent of creating a trust and they never legally place their assets into the trust. They keep the house in their name. They keep the car in their name. They keep their personal checking account, right? And so that's the biggest mistake. And I don't want you to make this mistake, okay? So there's 2 things that you need to do when you are transferring assets into a trust. The first thing is that you have to list those assets inside of the trust contract. It's in one of the sections that we call a schedule, okay? So the trust has several different schedules, schedule A, B, C, D, and the list goes on, okay? So what you need to do is you need to list all of the assets. So let's just say you have a primary residence, right? So that's that beautiful big house that you live in, okay? And so this house is in your personal name, right? Which is not what you want, okay? A lot of people do not know that that you're on the public records when it comes to your property, right? So all they have to do is go down to the county website. They'll put in your first and last name, and every single home or real estate that you own in that county will show up, right? So it's just that easy for someone to be able to find out where you live, okay? So what you need to do is you need to remove yourself, right? Because you're what we call that low-hanging fruit, okay? And so what you need to do is when you bought that house, they gave you a deed, okay? They probably gave you a warranty deed. And so what you need to do is you need to redeed that property into the name of the trust, okay? So right now it's in your personal name. You deed it over into the name of the trust. You go down to the county, specifically the clerk of courts. You go to the county recorder's office. You record the new deed that's in the name of the trust. So they record it, and now they update the public records to represent and show that the trust is the owner of the property. So now you've legally transferred that property. So there's 2 important steps that you took. One, you named it, you listed it as an asset inside of the trust, and inside of the trust documents, you're saying the trust owns this property. And then you went down to the county to do the legal transfer so that you can actually have a deed in the name of the trust. That is how you're going to protect your assets, okay? So that no one can take your property away from you, okay? So let's talk about asset protection because that's the only reason why you're here, right? Everyone is here today because they want to know how can I actually protect my assets and the things that I'm working so hard for, right? A lot of us were working so hard. Our home is our biggest asset, our biggest expense, right? And so if you don't protect it, you're giving someone the ability to be able to snatch it away from you right under your nose, right? So what can a trust actually protect you from? It can protect you from bankruptcy, from divorce, from foreclosures, heavy taxes. It can protect you from lawsuits. It can also protect you from probate. Okay. So out of all this list, I'm only going to talk about two. Okay. So the two most important ones that I want to talk about is lawsuits and probate. So let's talk about lawsuits very briefly, right? So a lot of us, we wait until we're getting sued in order to protect ourselves from a lawsuit because we're walking around here, like I said, thinking that we're invincible, right? Not even knowing that your neighbor wants to sue you, your brother wants to sue you, your coworker wants to sue you, your spouse wants to sue you, whoever, right? And so we are not walking around here thinking like that. And so we think that that everything is that everything is hunky dory when it's not. So, let's just say that, and what I don't want you to do is wait until you're getting sued to then protect yourself. Okay, that's not fun. I've seen a bunch of people go through that, and that is definitely not what you want. Okay, so with that being said. One lovely example that I love to give, right? And we're gonna talk about this is the LLC. Okay. So let's just say that you are a business owner. Okay. So you run a business, and a lot of us were entrepreneurs. Okay. A lot of us we are entrepreneurs, and so we run businesses, we are business owners. Okay. And so um most of us, we have LLCs. So my question to you is, what does LLC stand for?
Limited liability corporation.
Okay, yes. Limited liability company.
Company. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, who said that?
Bridget did.
Okay, Bridget. Okay, awesome. So yes. So it stands for limited liability company, right? And so you actually hear it in the term, right? So in the term, you hear limited liability. Okay. And a lot of you guys think that the LLC is the end all be all, right? Why? Because it's the most popular entity. Let's just be real. An LLC is so easy to make, right? And now my question to you is, if you hear the term limited liability, right? What do you think?
That you can't incur some liability if you're sued.
Okay, so that means that the company has limited liability, and so who else has the other half of that liability?
You as the owner.
You do.
Exactly. Okay, so you guys passed the test. You got an A plus on this quiz because it's so true. And so a lot of us, we're out here operating businesses thinking that we are fully protected, right? And some of the businesses that we're operating are what I like to call high liability businesses, right? Like if you got a trucking company, if you have like a car rental company, even real estate, right? Like you have real estate, people can slip and fall. Your tenants, your Airbnb cat guests, all kind of stuff, right? So we're operating these high liability businesses, not even thinking and knowing that we could potentially get sued and we could lose it all, right? And so the reason why is because we are the owners of our LLC. right? So when they told us to go get an LLC, they're like, yeah, put your name as the authorized member, go ahead and open up that LLC in 5 minutes and boom, start business, right? Start operating your business, right? Now, that's actually very detrimental, right? Because let's just say somebody wants to sue you, right? So for example, let's just say that you guys are operating a candle business, okay? And you're out here selling candles online on your website and all this stuff, right? And then you have a client that they decide to sue you because they say it was your candle that burned down their house. So now they're suing you for what the house is worth $500,000. So out of nowhere, you just got a lawsuit for $500,000. Now, how was they able to find out anything about your company? Well, your company is on the public records, right? Where? On the Secretary of State. So all they have to do is so easy, right? For them to find out who the owner of the business is, because all they have to do is go down to the Secretary of State, put in the name of the business, and all of your information comes up, right? Your name, your address, and everything. So now they know who to go after, right? So they decide to sue your LLC. Your LLC goes to court, and the judge decides, yep, it was your candle that burned down their house. So now the LLC has a judgment, okay? But the LLC can't cover $500,000, unfortunately. So if the LLC can't cover that judgment, who do you think that they go after?
The owner of the LLC.
Exactly. So what happens is, right? What happens is the judge will decide to pierce through the corporate veil. So the corporate veil is that little bit of insy bitty protection that you thought that you had, right? A lot of us, we think that, the LLC is going to protect us, but it's this tiny little umbrella that is there for a rainy day, but it'll just blow away. So the judge decided to pierce through that corporate veil and go after you as the authorized member. So now that they've gone after you as the authorized member, it's your fault now, right? So you're liable. And what happens is you have to cover that $500,000 judgment. So what are they going to do? The first thing that they're going to do is they're going to freeze your bank accounts. Then they're going to garnish your bank accounts, okay? They're going to garnish your wages if you have a W-2, right? And then they're going to seize your assets, the house, the car, the paintings, the jewelry, whatever they could find. They're going to seize it in an effort to fulfill that judgment of $500,000. And all of this is possible. Why? Because you are the authorized member of an LLC. And because you're the authorized member of the LLC, right? They are able to come after you personally and everything that is in your personal name. Okay. So you do not want that to happen. You don't want them to come knocking at your door telling you that, that they're taking away your property and you and your kids live there. Okay. All right, wonderful. So hold on for me 1 second. Let's dive in to the next one.
Question: where can we find reasons why a judge will pierce the corporate veil?
Okay, so all of that is on a case-by-case basis. So you can look up case laws in order for you to do your research on that. So let's dive right back in. All right,
Thank
so
you.
now you're welcome. So now let's talk about one thing that I love to talk about, right? So let's talk about probate. So now my question to you is, right? My question to you is, let's just say that you have a house, right? This is your primary residence. This is where you and your children live, okay? And my question to you is, if you did not wake up tomorrow and that house is in your personal name, how do you think that that house is going to be transferred to your children's name?
A transfer of death deed?
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, if you don't have anything set up prior, wouldn't it just go to probate?
A quit claim deed?
Or put it in let the trust buy it.
Okay, all good answers.
A
So,
land trust.
right. So this is what happens, okay? If you have a property in your personal name and you transition, the only way that that property is going to be transferred to your children, your loved ones, your next of kin, is by way of a judge. And so, yes, you have to go through probate court. So, because of the way that you are structured right now, you're leaving it up to a judge that doesn't know you, and that judge doesn't know your children. You're leaving it up to them to be able to make the decision if they're going to receive your property. So that is you doing your family a disservice. Why? Because what happens, right, at that time? You have to understand your children, they're grieving, right? And so we have bought into the biggest lie ever. And so the lie that we bought into is my kids are automatically going to get my house, or I only have one child, so everything's going to him, right? We bought into that lie. We think that it's automatic. But how many times have you seen that people's homes are being auctioned on the county court steps? All day, every day. Why? Because we didn't have our affairs in order, right? And so we thought that a will was good enough. But a will end up in probate. Why? Because a will cannot own anything. A will is a wish list. So what are we saying on the will? On the will, we're saying, I wish my daughter will get my car. I wish my son will get my house. That's our last will and testament, our last wishes, right? And so it's just a document, a legal document, but it's not an entity like a trust where it can actually own property. And so a will automatically ends up in probate. So now let me talk to you guys about the probate process, right? Because a lot of us are not familiar with that process. So like I said, you're going to leave it up to a judge, right? So what happens? Well, let's just say that you have a house, a car, and $500,000 in the bank. And you did not wake up tomorrow, right? So what ends up happening is that the state where you're a resident, so let's just say you're a resident of Texas, Texas is going to create an estate for you. So you just transitioned, and so now Texas creates a living entity for a dead person, okay? So Texas creates an estate for you. Why? Because you didn't do it yourself. Because you didn't create your estate while you were living. And so now you let Texas do it. You let Florida do it. You let Georgia, California, New York. You let the state do it. So what is the state going to do? They're going to transfer all of your assets into the estate. So that house, that car, and that cash money that's sitting inside of that bank account is going to be transferred inside of your estate. So now your estate needs to be represented in probate court. So it needs a probate attorney, right? And it's going to be represented in probate court. And so what is the first thing that the judge does?
Gives it to one of his buddies.
An attorney.
No, but let's keep it real. The judge is going to start to
Pay
disperse
all
the
that.
money.
That's
Pay
right.
all that.
They're gonna pay off those debts.
Pay off those debts.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for saying that because that's so true, right? And so
Yeah.
you had a lot of debt. You had student loan debt, you had credit card debt, but one debt that you don't even think about is the debt at the end of life, which is what? Hospital bills. How long was you sitting in the ICU or a nursing home? Hospital bills, 200,000, 300,000. So now what?
You
Medicare,
get that.
Medicaid is going to your estate.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't think about this. So
Ooh.
I'm here to tell you, right? And so what the judge does is the judge starts to pay off all your liabilities. All your liabilities is all the debt that you have in your personal name. And those creditors are coming after your estate. They're
Yep.
looking for you. Why? Because they want you to pay that American Express, that Discover, and whatever other credit cards you had. The Fed loans, student loans, they want you to pay all of it off. So they go after your estate. So the judge goes and starts paying everything off, right? Off of what? The cash that you had in your bank account. Now, if that cash that you had in your bank account is not enough to cover those debt, then what happens?
Start selling off your property.
Thank you. Oh my God, I got nothing but A students in here. I'm telling you, yes, the judge is going to decide to liquidate the assets that are inside of the estate. So
Yeah.
now you mean to tell me that your son and your daughter now have to fight in probate court to keep mom and dad's house because the judge decided to sell the house to pay off Medicaid, to pay off the ICU bill and the hospital bill.
Come on.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
So does
Okay.
irrevocable prevents this from happening?
That's the only way for you to prevent probate is by having a trust. There's no other way for you to prevent probate. All of us are going to go through probate as long as we have stuff in our personal names. Why? Because there's no way for those assets to go anywhere, and we have to require the court system to handle it because we no longer exist to be able to sign and start transferring stuff. So we're doing our family a disservice because at the end of the day, our family is grieving. Our family lost the most important person in their life. I know because I lost my mom. And so now you're going to force them to go into probate court and fight for mom's house. You don't want to do that. Don't do that. By you walking around here buying into the lies that a will is good enough or that your kid's automatically going to get it because you only have one child. No, you have estranged spouses and you have your siblings that come out of the woodworks as well.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about your child. They're like, that was my sister and I gave her the down payment for the house.
Right.
Let's speak on it.
Mm.
So now that we know everything that you have to go through because you decided that you didn't want to have your affairs in order, let's talk about how you prevent this whole thing from happening, right? Because like I said, there's only one way for you to prevent probate. The only way for you to do that is by you creating your estate now while you're living. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to create your estate now so that all of your assets are owned by the trust because the trust is designed to outlive you. So let's just say you set up a trust. You put the house into the trust. You put the car into the trust. You opened up a trust bank account and you transferred that $500,000 into the trust. So now you have nothing in your personal name and everything is owned by the trust. Right? And so you are operating as the trustee. You still have control over all those assets. You have control over all that money. Now, let's just say you didn't wake up tomorrow. The trust still exists. So does the trust have to go to probate? No. Why? Because the trust still exists. The trust is going to remain intact. and your successor trustee is going to take over. They're going to pick up where you left off and continue to operate the trust, because the trust still exists, right? And it's going to exist for 100 years. And so the trust owns the house, the car, and the cash. So now your children get to grieve in peace, right? And they're not going to be left with the leftovers. Because if they was to have to go to probate, what happens is after the judge pays all your liabilities, then they have to pay the probate attorney, and then they take probate court fees. And then you're going to get the leftovers. You don't want that to happen. So instead of your children getting the leftovers, they don't even have to go through that probate process. And that debt that you had, that debt dies with you. Why? Because the student loans can only go after what is in your name. The hospital bills can only go after what is in your name. They can go after the trust. They don't even know the name of the trust. They don't know what the hell Sunflower Estate is.
It's hidden.
That's how you protect yourself. That's how you protect your family. That's how you build generational wealth. You can't be walking around here talking about you're building generational wealth, but you don't have the tools to build generational wealth. So that's what you need to do in order for your children to actually receive their inheritance. Because the way that you're operating right now and the way that our society is moving, our children are losing their inheritance. And it's not fair. It's due to lack of information, lack of knowledge, and not having the proper tools. So if you actually want that money that you're making to last the second generation, the third generation, you need to park it in a place where it's actually going to last, where it's going to reach that generation.
Right.
And so that's what the trust is, right? And so that is why you want to avoid the probate process at all costs. Just avoid it. Okay? All right, so let's dive in. Let's dive back into where we was. All right, so asset protection and privacy is the #1 reason why you want to set up a trust. Okay, now let's talk about the wealth building formula. I'm going to go through this briefly so we can land this plane, okay? So structure, I have 3 pillars here. I have structure, I have credit, and I have invest, okay? And so let's talk about structure, all right? Now, it's very important for you to have a trust within your structure, okay? If you don't have a trust within your structure, you need to get restructured, okay? So now, these are the trusts that I recommend for anyone who's looking to get restructured, okay? You want a business trust, you want a private family trust, and you want a tax-exempt trust, okay? So everyone, it's highly, highly, highly advantageous for you to have a for-profit arm and a nonprofit arm within your structure, okay? That is going to help you, with reducing taxes and with being able to build wealth efficiently and effectively. Okay, that's what you want to do, because we out here losing money. So you need to do what the wealthy do. Okay, for profit, nonprofit. Okay, so the first one, let me talk about the first one, which is the business trust. Okay, now, with the business trust, right? This is a trust entity that is for entrepreneurs and business owners. And with this type of trust, you can operate in 2 ways. The first way that you can operate it is by operating it as a holding company. So what do I mean by that? Well, remember earlier when I told you that you want to avoid lawsuits and that you're operating a limited liability company and that you're going to be liable for those lawsuits, right? So what you want to do is you want to set up a business trust, and the business trust is going to act as a holding company, which means that it's going to be non-operational. It's not going to offer any products or services, okay? What it's going to do and how it's designed is it's going to actually own other legal entities. So it's going to own your LLC. That is what you want, okay? Because remember what I told you, right? If you get sued, they're going to come after you personally. But let's just say that the LLC is owned by a business trust. What then happens, right? So the business trust is going to own the LLC. And if the LLC is sued, then they're going to go after the business trust. They're not going to go after you personally because the business trust is the holding company that owns the LLC. So when they go on the Secretary of State's website, they're able to see that an entity owns the LLC and they don't see your name nowhere on site. That is privacy. That is the power of privacy. And that's how you want to be structured. Please get your LLC out of your personal name, okay? So now that the business trust, right? So how do you do it? Well, let me tell you. What you want to do is once you set up a business trust, you're going to go down to the Secretary of State. You're going to do an amendment to the Articles of Organization. You're going to remove yourself as the authorized member, and you're going to add the business trust as the new authorized member. All right, you're going to submit that amendment, and now they're going to update the public records to represent that your LLC is owned by a holding company. Okay? So remember, I'm using the word Sunflower Estate. So my LLC is owned by Sunflower Estate. No way are they going to know that Christina Yvette is associated with that LLC or with Sunflower Estate. That is what you want, okay? That's going to protect you from any lawsuits and from you losing it all, okay? So now that the business trust is the owner of the LLC, right? We'll talk about that in just a moment. The other way that you can actually operate this business trust is as a business. So let's just say you don't even have an LLC, right? If you don't have an LLC, that's fine. You don't have to set up an LLC. You can set up a business trust, set it up for 100 years, and you can start operating business, right? Versus the LLC, you have to go down to the Secretary of State, which means that it is a statutory entity. Remember, I told y'all about statutory entities, okay? It's out here in the public. The state has jurisdiction. The state regulates your entity. So the state can do what? They can shut you down at any moment in time, okay? You've given all that power to the state, right? So now, let's just say that your LLC, right? Your LLC is doing business, right? You got e-com company. It just earned $100,000 for the year, makes 6 figures, okay? What happens is that LLC, the beautiful thing about it is that because it's owned by a business trust, you can do a K-1 distribution and you can move that 100,000 into the business trust. So now with the LLC, you are you don't have to pay any taxes. You have what we call a 0% tax liability because you don't have to pay taxes on that 100,000. You just did a K-1 distribution. So now that $100,000 is sitting in the business trust. The business trust is a for-profit entity, so it's going to have to pay taxes, okay? So a trust pays anywhere between I would say 10%, anywhere between 10% upwards of like 37% in taxes, okay? So one of the beautiful things that I love about a trust is that you spend the money first and you're taxed on the leftovers. I'm going to say it again because it's so important and I need you to pick up what I'm putting down. You spend the money first, you're taxed on the leftovers. So what are we going to be doing? We're going to be spending. And then whatever's left over is what we're going to be required to pay taxes on. So when you spend, what are you spending? You're spending what we call OPEX, operating expenses. What does it cost in order to operate your business trust, right? Whatever it is. So let's just say you have a vehicle in there. Well, it's gas, it's maintenance, it's a car note, insurance, all kind of stuff. Right? So all of those operating expenses can be deducted, and whatever's left over is what you're going to pay taxes on. A trust files a 1041. You as a human person file a 1040. So that lets you know off bat that the trust is actually taxed separate from you. Okay, so now let's just say that that $100,000 came in. We have operating expenses of $30,000. So now there's $70,000 that's left. So now we gotta pay taxes on $70,000. That's a lot of taxes, last time I checked. But there's a beautiful thing about a trust, right? And only the trust can do this, is the trust can actually distribute to the beneficiary. So you have $70,000 in this trust that you have to pay taxes on. If you distribute that $70,000 to the beneficiary, then the business trust is done paying taxes. That means that the business trust pays 0 taxes because what? Because the business trust wrote off $30,000 in expenses and distributed $70,000. That equals the whole 100,000, and the business trust just paid $0 in taxes, okay? All right. But, right? So that 70,000 that went to the beneficiary, where did it go? The way that we structure it is we make the family trust the beneficiary of the business trust. Why do we do it that way? Because if you have business owners and entrepreneurs, right, that are full-time, they are making the money in the business to be able to provide for their livelihood and for their families. So what we need to do is we need to be able to take the money from the business trust to place it into the family trust to provide for our family. So that's why we make the family trust the beneficiary of the business trust, so that that 70,000 can easily flow into the family trust. All right. So now let's talk about the family trust, right? So the family trust, once again, is a for-profit entity and is going to be required to pay taxes and to file a 1041. Now, this trust is for family expenses. The business is for business, okay? So the business trust is going to own business assets, right? And it's going to be operating business. The family trust is going to own personal assets that have nothing to do with the business. So that means your primary residence, that means your life insurance policies, your crypto, your stocks, the cash in the bank, any jewelry, designer bags, whatever it is that you have, right? The cars, clothes, whatever it is, right? So the family trust owns all those assets. Now, who are the beneficiaries? The beneficiaries are your children, right? Your 3 kids, your 4 kids, those, they're going to be the beneficiaries of the family trust, okay? So now you have $70,000 that just came in to the family trust. It's a for-profit entity, so what do? Well, you're going to spend the money first and be taxed on the leftovers. So that means that you're going to run it up with the operating expenses. So what does it cost in order to operate your family? You got tuition, you got groceries, you got insurance, you got a mortgage, you got car note, gas, you name it, you got it, okay? So all of those assets are owned by the family trust, and so they are automatically an expense of the family trust. So let's just say that it costs $60,000 in operating expenses. So out of that 70,000 that just came in, 60,000 is going to be written off, right? And then you have $10,000 that's left. So the $10,000 that's left, you're gonna have to pay 10% taxes on that 10,000, which is $1,000. Not bad, not bad, right?
Almost.
Or what you can do is you can also do a charitable contribution. All right. And so that means that you can contribute or donate that money to a nonprofit. And that's going to be 100% tax deductible. So instead of you paying taxes on the 10,000, you're going to donate it to your tax exempt nonprofit trust. And then on the family trust level, you are done paying taxes. You have a 0% tax liability. So now that you have a 0% tax liability, let's move on to the next trust. The next trust is the tax-exempt nonprofit trust, right? So another name that we call it is a 508c1a. Okay, so this is just like a 501c3 to where you're automatically exempt from paying federal taxes. Why? Because there's a separation between church and state. And so when you operate this type of trust, you're going to operate it as what we call a faith-based organization. So you can operate it as a church, a ministry, a school. You can operate it as a charity. You can operate it as whatever it is that you want, right? And so it's automatically exempt from paying federal taxes as long as you are documenting the money that is coming in properly. So it has to be documented as a donation, a tithe, or a gift. If it's documented as income, then what happens is you're going to have to pay taxes on anything over $5,000. So you need to be careful with documentation. Now, why do you think that you hear people like the Kardashians and Kanye West and all these people that say they have churches, right? It's because they're running this type of organization where they can donate to their own organization. It's 100% legal. Now, with this type of organization, right, let's just say that you're a W-2 employee, right? The IRS will allow you to donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to your charity, a charity of your choice. It could be your charity, right? So if you're a W-2 employee and you're making $100,000 for the year and you donate 60 of it to your trust, then you're only going to be taxed on 40,000 or 40% of your income. You're going to be saving thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, with this organization, right, with the tax-exempt nonprofit trust, with this organization, you are automatically exempt from federal taxes, so you don't have to apply for tax exemption. But you are not exempt from any other taxes, so you have to apply for state taxes, for sales taxes, for property taxes, right, for city taxes. And so you can get qualified for those exemptions as well. So with this type of organization, with having a nonprofit within your structure, you're going to be saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you can then allocate somewhere else. Why? So that you can build wealth efficiently and effectively. It's so important. All right, so now we're done talking about structure. Let's move on to credit, right? And so what you have to do is you have to fund your trust. You got to get OPM, other people's money. So you can qualify for grants. You can also build business credit with your business trust. That's exactly what you want to do because you want to be leveraging OPM. You want to use the bank's money in order to build wealth. It's so vitally important because at the end of the day, the bank is using your money to build wealth. So you need to do what the bank does, okay? So a lot of us, we're so wrapped up in our personal credit profile, right? But it's advantageous for you to leverage a second credit profile and for you to build credit. Now, how does a trust build credit? Well, it has an EIN. So it will build credit off of that EIN, just like an LLC, just like a corporation. And so with business credit, you get to qualify for higher lines of credit. So instead of you getting approved for 10K, you're going to get approved for 100K, 50K, 70K, which is what you want. So you want to be able to take out credit cards and lines of credit so that you can leverage them. So that's what you want to use in order to fund the trust so that you can acquire assets. So let's talk about some of the assets that you want to acquire for the trust. So for example, let's go to invest, okay? So there's two assets that I absolutely love that I need you to get into. The first one is Index Universal Life Insurance Policy. The second one is real estate. So let's talk about the IUL policies. So It stands for IUL, which is Index Universal Life. And with life insurance, right? A lot of us think that life insurance is supposed to be used when they're dead. When in all actuality, life insurance is supposed to be utilized when you are living. There are so many living benefits to life insurance. I have 5 policies, okay? 5 IUL policies, and I will explain that in just a moment. So with this type of policy, what happens is it's what we call a liquid asset. So your money is protected. So let's just say somebody sued you, they can't go and touch the money that's inside of your life insurance policy. So it's liquid, it's protected, and the money that you put inside of your policy, it grows tax-free. So that means that you're actually getting more money in the long run. And the beautiful thing that I love about this policy is that it has a death benefit. So if anything happens to you, there's a certain amount of money that they're going to pay off to your beneficiary. And that's cute, but you don't get to tap into that when you're alive. That's when you're dead. So the next beautiful thing that I love about an IUL policy is that there's something called cash value. Cash value is a separate account within your policy that your money goes to. So when you pay your premium, let's just say you pay $100 a month. 20 of it is going to the company, the carrier, for the cost of insurance. The other $80 is going to your cash value. So what's happening is your cash value is accumulating, right? And if you have this type of policy, which is the Index Universal Life, it's also going to earn compound interest. And the reason that it earns compound interest is because it's mirroring the market. Now, how is it mirroring the market? Well, you see the term index? Index is actually referring to an indice. And an indice is inside of the stock market, you have many different indices. You have the Dow Jones, you have the NASDAQ, and you have the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 stands for Standard & Poor's 500, which represents the top 500 companies in this country, in the United States of America. So typically your S&P 500 is going to average about 8 to 10%, which means that what the insurance carrier is going to do is they're going to match that and give you the 8 to 10%. So let's just say the S&P 500 did 9%. Well, if you have whatever amount you have in your cash value, let's just say that you have $1,000 in your cash value. What the insurance carrier is going to do is they're going to match the 9% and give you a 9% return on that $1,000 with no risk. It's 100% risk-free. Why? Because your money is not invested in the S&P 500. Your money is just mirroring the market, and you get to earn that. That return, which is good, which is what you want, right? And so if the market crashed, there's no risk, your money remains intact. Maybe you'll get 1%, right? And so that's a beautiful thing, because now what this policy would allow you to do is, because it's liquid, it'll allow you to tap into that cash value, right? So you want to make your premium payment, and you want to accumulate the cash value, because the cash value is going to be earning the compound interest, which means that you're parking it in a vehicle where it's earning interest and it's earning income. And so your money is going to double and triple and quadruple inside of the life insurance policy. Now, what you want to do is you want to have the trust be the owner of your IUL policy. You want the trust to be the payer of the premiums every single month. And you want the trust to be the beneficiary of the life insurance policy. And we'll talk about that in just a moment, but it is extremely, extremely powerful, okay? It's extremely powerful. And so with this type of policy, this is where you put yourself in a position to be your own bank. That's what you want to do with the trust funds. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is when we get paid, our money is going straight to Chase Bank or Wells Fargo, right? And so unfortunately, Chase Bank or Wells Fargo is not giving us 9%. So let's talk about this quickly, right? So what happens when you get paid on Friday?
Gets direct deposit into your checking or savings account, and
That
you pay bills.
and yeah, that's pretty good.
The bank
So,
get the money first.
huh?
The bank gets the money first, and they distribute it how you want to.
Yeah. Okay,
Yep, fractional share.
before your money hits the bank account, let's keep it real. Before your money hits the bank account, on Friday, when you get paid, the first thing that happens is
Taxes.
taxes.
Yes.
Exactly. So you telling me that the IRS takes their cut first. Then you have Medicare, then you have Social Security, and then you have your 401k contribution. So you mean to tell me that before you see your money, 4 organizations had their hand inside of your paycheck? And so now that money that's left over is what you get. You get the leftovers. And where do the leftovers go?
Bills.
To your bank account.
Goes to the bank, so your bills.
Exactly. So your leftovers go to the bank. It goes to Wells Fargo and Chase and Bank of America. And so now your money is going to another organization. And so what does the bank do?
The bank uses your money and they
Invest.
invest it into
He invested in assets, yeah.
And other assets.
Yep. The bank loans the money out. The bank uses the money to actually invest into a life insurance policy that we don't even know about.
Yeah. So if you deposit $10,
$30
$9
to
of
use
those
it to put it
$10.
back.
Exactly.
security.
And it
So
gets to
your
use
money,
10
so your
times
money,
more of what your money is worth.
yeah, let's talk about it.
In
Short and
gas.
sweet, right? Short and sweet. So you literally working 40 hours a week for 40 years, and you putting your money inside of the bank, and you're making the bank richer because the bank is not only loaning your money out, right? So they pay, the bank is using OPM, other people's money. The bank is pimping out your paycheck and lending it for mortgages, car loans, credit cards, you name it. And they're earning high interest, 36%, 40%, whatever, right? But like somebody said on the call, a lot of people think the bank is getting rich off of those loan products. But in actuality, the bank's number one investment is BOLI. BOLI stands for bank-owned life insurance. Look it up, BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. That's their number one asset. So if the bank's number one asset is life insurance, do you think that your number one asset should also be life insurance?
Indeed.
Thank you. Okay, so now that we know that the bank is pimping out our paycheck, right? When we put the direct deposit, what happens to the money, right? So now my direct deposit just came in Friday, and what's the first thing that I'm gonna do with my paycheck?
Pay my life insurance policy.
No, you pay bills. You pay your rent, your mortgage, you keep the lights on, running water, gasoline in the car so that you can make it to work tomorrow. Let's just keep it real. So you mean to tell me that you just worked for 2 weeks and your paycheck just went into your bank account and you just went and sent it to the mortgage company? You just went and sent it to the light company. You mean to tell me that? And so now that you done pay all your bills, guess who's left with the leftovers?
You are.
You left with the leftovers. And what do you do with the leftovers?
Entertain
Free them out.
yourself, buy groceries.
Free them out.
Exactly. You just let it sit there and in the account collecting dust. So that is the true definition of the rat race. That is exactly what society wants from us. They want us to be on this hamster wheel to where we're tied to a chain, to where we're doing the same thing week in and week out, which is what? Putting in our 40 hours, working for 40 years, retiring at 65, and then at 65 is where you get to have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. And then they want you to depend on what? On Social Security. Social Security is not going to be around, baby. It's not. So what society wants for us shouldn't be what we want for ourselves, because we want time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. We want to get out of the rat race, which is going to put us in a position to where we need to have a mindset shift. And so the way that we change our mind is by changing our practices. We got to switch it up. We got to do things different. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, we are insane. So how do we switch it up? Instead of you paying yourself last, instead of you getting the leftovers, you need to pay yourself first. The way you pay yourself first is by whatever money that you have coming in, you park it in the right vehicle where it's going to be earning compound interest.
Your own bank.
Your own bank. Be your own bank. So that money that's coming in, you're going to funnel it into your index universal life insurance policies. It's going to earn that 9%. You get to borrow that money out. So the carrier sees it as a liquid asset. You're going to ask them, hey, I need to borrow $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever the number is. As long as you have that money sitting in your cash value, what the carrier is going to do is they're going to loan you money from their reserves, from their bank account. So if you got $5,000 sitting inside of your cash value, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to give him $4,900. Right? So your money is still sitting inside of your policy, earning compound interest. That's what you need to do. You need to park your money in places where it's going to go out and work for you. You do not have to keep working for money. What you need to do is you need to have that money work for you. So that money needs to go out, work, bring back friends. That dollar needs to go out, bring back 10 cents, 15 cents, a quarter. That's the only way for us to get out of the rat race. I was able to achieve this only because that's what I did. I told myself I wanted to get out of the rat race. I was working 12-hour shifts, 7 in the morning to 7 at night, could not even take care of my baby. I was so frustrated. My mom had to watch my baby because I was living paycheck to paycheck, making $22 an hour as a nurse in a hospital that was short-staffed. I was burnt out after year 1. And I told myself, I said, I'm giving myself 10 years. 10 years. I can't be like my other coworkers that are in their 50s and 60s. I was able to retire myself in 8 years. But right before I retired, I had a coworker, and she was 60, 65, 66. And I constantly had to help her at work. And I'm like, why you don't retire? Like you did your 30-something years, almost 40 years. And she said, no, I'm going to work for 2 more years. I'm going to wait until I'm 67 and a half, because Social Security is going to give me an extra, whatever, $200, $300. Do you know that she never made it? Do you know that one day she was so exhausted from work, working 13 hours, that as soon as she drove out of the parking lot, she hit the tree right in front of the emergency room and died on impact. Because she bought into the lie that society told her that she got to wait until she's 65 and collect Social Security. She did not make it. So we need to get out of this mindset and start putting our money in the right places.
Get out the matrix.
Get out the matrix. Unplug yourself. Okay. Thank you for saying that. So now that frustrates me, but that's the power of compound interest. That's the power of investing. That's the power of acquiring assets. Okay. So now that we talked about the index universal life insurance policy, now we talked about you paying yourself first instead of paying yourself last, and you being left with the leftovers. Let's talk about real estate real quick, because real estate is my favorite thing to talk about. It was my way out. It was my way out, right? And I love real estate so much because I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I didn't find out until I was in my 20s that when I was young, I would say like 9, 10 years old, we were squatters. Like me and my family was squatting in houses and abandoned buildings. Wondering why we can't have no utilities on. Like, why everybody else got the lights on and we got no running water and we got no electricity in this place? I didn't know what was going on. All I knew is that I wanted a way out. And so what I did was I actually went and got a job at McDonald's so that I could help my parents. I could give that money to my parents so that they could actually cut the utilities on. It was so frustrating. And that's why real estate is so important to me. And I'm telling you, it could be your way out. So what you want to do when it comes to real estate is you need to understand that the trust needs to own real estate, right? It can get a mortgage. It could get a home equity line of credit. Okay. And you could buy real estate with zero money. When I was 25 and I bought that first property, I bought it with $0 out of my own pocket. And I still buy real estate till this day like that. So let me break down the strategy. What you want to do is, remember, the trust is going to own the real estate. So what you want to do is you want to get what we call, you want to put the trust in a position to where it's going to sustain itself. You don't want to be pouring in your W-2 income into the trust, okay? So hold on, somebody's background is like pretty loud here. Let me see, I don't know who it is. Okay, there we go. All right, so you don't want to be pouring in your W-2 income. So the trust is going to take on a mortgage. The mortgage is a DSCR, okay? Debt service coverage ratio loan. That is for entities. So that's loan to entities for income producing properties that are not owner occupied, okay? So you're going to find a property that is multifamily, a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, a fiveplex.
Multi-family is 5 or more. That's single family.
Okay, thank you. So you're going to get a property, and what you're going to do is with this property, right? You're going to have the DSCR loan, and they're going to lend you up to 80%. Okay, up to 80% of whatever the purchase price is. So now that you know that the DSCR loan is going to give you up to 80%, you have to find the down payment. Right? And so the way that you can find that down payment is with what I told you previously, which is utilizing business credit. Okay. So when you utilize business credit, right, you can get lines of credit and you can get credit cards, right? And so those credit cards, high income, 25,000, 50,000, 60, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that you are able to get approved for. So what you're going to do is you're going to use that credit card as the funds that you need for the down payment. So what you're going to do is you're going to strip the credit card, okay? You're going to take the funds out of the credit card, but the first thing that you're going to do is before you utilize those funds for the down payment for the real estate, you're going to funnel that money into your index universal life insurance policy, okay? So that means that let's just say it's 50,000, right? That 50,000, you take it out the credit card, you're going to funnel it into your IUL policy. Now your cash value goes up by 50,000. Now you're going to be earning whatever the market is giving, right? 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, 11, whatever the market is giving, okay? So you're going to be earning that 9% on that $50,000. You're going to go to the carrier, you're going to ask them for a loan, and they're going to give you whatever it is, right? So every single carrier is different. Let's just say, okay, yes, we can lend you $48,500. They're going to do a direct deposit for $48,500, okay, into your bank account. So now you have that money that you've already parked it inside of your IUL. You borrowed it out, right? So it's working inside of your IUL. Now you're going to park it into the second place. The second place is the real estate, okay? So now you just acquired this property, right? And so you acquired it zero down. Why? Because you use a DSCR loan, and then you was also able to use the credit card, the business credit card, for the down payment that you needed, okay? So you just acquired this property for the trust zero down. Okay, the trust is the owner of this property, right? So let's just say you got 4 units, right? So you got 4 tenants in here that are paying you rent every single month. Okay, so what are you going to do on the first of the month? I need to hear people say it. What are you going to do on the first of the month?
Invest that money back into the IUL.
Exactly. Yep. So whenever you have money that comes into your organization, you are going to funnel it into your IUL. You're going to borrow it back out and put it into the second location, right? So that rental income that comes in, let's just say it's $4,000. That $4,000 is going to be parked into your IUL. Then you're going to borrow it back out. Let's just say you're borrowing, I don't know, 3,800, right? So now that 3,800 is going to be utilized to cover your mortgage and to pay the credit card over, and whatever's left over is going to sit inside of the trust. Okay. So that is how you want to put yourself in a position to where you're paying yourself first, to where you're being your own bank, and to where you are acquiring income producing properties, and that money is going to be working for you and you do not have to work for it. Okay, this is the wealth building formula, you guys. Okay, so let's continue on because we're about to land this plane. Let's continue on. Okay, so how do you actually transfer wealth? A lot of us, we don't know how to transfer wealth. All we know how to do is make money. Okay, a lot of us, we know how to make the $1 million, but we don't know how to transfer the $1 million. Okay, so this is how you actually transfer the $1 million. Okay, you need to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. And I'm going to say it again because it's so important. It's so powerful. You need to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything, okay? That is what stewardship is. That's the definition of stewardship, okay? Where you're a good steward of the wealth that you are acquiring, and you're directing that wealth into the right places so that it can grow, okay? Versus how you're operating now. How you're operating now is ownership, where society has taught you that you want to be a proud owner. I want to be the owner of my house. I want to be the owner of my car. I want to be the owner of my bank account, right? You're the proud owner of all of these things, right? And so that is putting yourself in a position to where you're actually going to lose the wealth, and your children are not going to get the wealth, right? And so you need to move away from ownership and you need to move towards stewardship, right? And so right now, the way that you're operating, right? And you have to understand, right? A lot of us, we think, oh, I want to own the house. No, 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 no. At the end of the day, if you don't wake up tomorrow, that house is still going to be there. So it's not about you owning the house. What it is about is you controlling the house while you are alive. That is what you truly want. That is what your goal is. And so that is how you're going to obtain that goal, through stewardship. Why? Because the trust owns the house. You live in the house. You control that asset while you're living. That is what you want, okay? So think stewardship and go towards stewardship, okay? Now, remember, you have beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are the people who's going to be receiving the wealth once you transfer it, okay? And so every single trust is going to establish what we call TCUs. TCUs are trust certificate units, okay? So just like you have stock certificates in a corporation that represents ownership, you have TCUs in a trust that represents beneficial interest, okay? So a trust is going to be set up with 100 TCUs. 100 TCUs represents 100% of beneficial interest. So let's just say that you have two beneficiaries and you are splitting it 50-50. So that means each beneficiary has 50 TCUs. That means that each beneficiary has 50% of beneficial interest. So if you have a trust and the net worth is $1 million, and I'm one of your beneficiaries that have 50 TCUs, that means that I'm entitled to, or my beneficial interest is equivalent to $500,000, half of that $1 million, okay? So that is how you're going to be transferring your wealth. By way of trust certificate units, those beneficiaries, which are your children, are going to be holders of those units, okay? All right, let's talk about the next thing, which is preservation of wealth, right? A lot of us are not walking around here talking about they're preserving their wealth, right? And so how is it that you are talking about I'm creating generational wealth if you don't have the tools for the wealth to make it to the second or third generation? How many times have we seen it to where famous families, celebrities, actors, actresses, where they blow the dough, they blow their wealth in their lifetime, or it makes it to the second generation and the second generation blows the wealth? We've seen it so many times. And the reason why is because those individuals do not have trust within their structure. They do not. It doesn't matter if they're a celebrity or a millionaire, okay? How many times have you seen it to where they're going to probate? You've seen it on the news, right? And so there's two tools that you need in order to preserve your wealth. The two tools that you need is a trust and life insurance policies, okay? So let's talk about it, okay? So the trust has many assets. And the trust is going to insure all of its assets. The trust has a house, and so the trust has homeowners insurance. The trust has a car, so the trust has car insurance. The trust has a bank account with cash, so the trust has FDIC insurance. And the trust has what we call human assets, right? Those human assets are the trustees, the beneficiaries, and the future beneficiaries. And so the trust needs to have insurance on those assets as well. So the trust is going to take out a life insurance policy on every single trustee, every single beneficiary, and every single future beneficiary that's born into the trust, okay? Because if anything happens to you, which are the trustee that's operating the trust is going to be devastated. And so the trust needs to be compensated for that loss. And so what happens is, because there's a death benefit associated with your policy, right? Because you're the insured, there's a death benefit. Let's just say the death benefit is $2 million, right? That $2 million, when you transition, is going to go straight to the trust. And so now the trust is replenished with that $2 million death benefit. So the trust is once again going to be the payer of the premiums. The trust is going to be the owner of the policy. You are going to be the insured on the policy, and the trust is going to be the beneficiary of the policies, okay? And so the trust is going to insure all of the trustees, all of the beneficiaries. Now, if there is a baby that's born into the trust organization, that is what we consider a trust fund baby. Okay, so you've heard it before. That's what a trust fund baby is. So that baby is born into the trust organization. Okay, so what's the first thing that the trust is going to do? The trust is going to take out a policy on that baby when that baby hits 30 years old. Exactly. All right. So now the trust then took out an indexed universal life insurance policy on that 30-day-old baby. Okay. So fast forward into the future, right? So into the future, that baby grows up, right? That baby is now 18 years old. And so what happens when they're 18? They need to go off to college. They got room and board. They got tuition. They want a brand new car, all kind of stuff, right? And so that beneficiary can clearly go to the dealership. They can pull their credit. They can get into an auto loan, and they can start buying a $30,000 car and paying $1,000 a month, right? They can do that. But because they are a beneficiary to a trust organization, what they can do is they can go to the trust and they can ask the trustee for a loan for $30,000. So now the trustee is going to write a check for $30,000, hand it to the beneficiary. The beneficiary then goes to the dealership and buys their car cash, okay? And so now what the beneficiary is going to do is the beneficiary is going to start paying the trust $300 a month. So that's one of the benefits of being a beneficiary in a trust, right? Okay. So what ends up happening? Well, let's just say fast forward into, a year into the future. That beneficiary decides, oh, I don't want to pay the trust $300 anymore. So they default on the loan. Well, it's completely fine that they defaulted on the loan because the loan was a risk-free loan. And the reason the loan was a risk-free loan was because the money did not come from the trust. The money actually came from the trust fund baby's insurance policy. When that trust fund baby went to the trustee and asked for $30,000, that trustee contacted the carrier and took out a loan for $30,000 on that life insurance policy. So if you remember, the loan does not need to be paid back. Why? Because it's automatically deducted from the death benefit. So when that trust fund baby expires, that $30,000 loan is going to be deducted from their death benefit. And so it's a risk-free loan for the trust because the trust is going to be paid out that death benefit of $2-3 million. So that is what preservation of wealth looks like. And that's why it's so vitally important that you have the tools in order to preserve the wealth so that the wealth can actually last the generations. Okay, you want your wealth to last 10, 15, 20 generations into the future. And so the trust can do that because the trust is designed to outlive you. The trust is going to last the second and third generation. All right, so these are the books that I recommend. I recommend What Would the Rockefellers Do? That's a really good book that teaches you about the marriage between the trust and the life insurance policies. The next one is The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2, which teaches you about trusteeship. The next one is Family Wealth, which teaches you how to run your family like a business. Everybody needs to run their family like a business, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the CEO of your family. Your spouse is the CFO of your family. So run it like a business. And the last one is The Complete Books of Trust, which teaches you about the different types of trust, okay? Remember I said there's hundreds of different types of trust, okay? So what I want you to do is just take action on the information that I shared with you guys tonight, okay? We're wrapping it up. A trust can be your new form of actually doing business. It can solve a lot of the problems that you have. From you being in the rat race, from you living paycheck to paycheck, from you not having your assets protected, and you can lose it through a divorce, you can lose it through a lawsuit or even probate, right? And so what you want to do is you want to treat this like a big business. You want to treat this like you running Google and Amazon, not like you running some little small mom and pop shop, okay? That's what you want to do. Treat it seriously. So if you are not structured the right way, where you don't have a trust, it's time to get structured the right way. It's time to get restructured so that you can have the solid foundation that you need. And so that, it's not only for privacy, it's not only for asset protection, but it's also so that your children can receive their inheritance. Because at the end of the day, I know that everyone on this call is what we call a generational curse breaker. It's time for you to break those generational curses of poverty in your family, right? Because now, instead of you, raising your children to be 9-to-5ers or to get a job or to do any of that other stuff that society tells you to do, right? You're gonna actually raise them to be trustees of a trust. That means that you're gonna be changing the trajectory of your family. You're gonna be changing the trajectory of your kids and their kids. Why? Because you decided to establish your legacy now. Because you decided to protect your wealth now. Because you decided that you wanted a solid foundation and you wanted to set them up for the future. And you wanted to do it now while you're living, so you can have full control. So let me show you a quick video of someone who decided to take action on the information I shared with you guys tonight.
Well, kudos to you all. Again, Christina, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been looking at your videos on YouTube for a while, and there are a number of people offering trust these days, and I guess that's the big thing. Don't own anything, control everything. That kind of, I didn't say it correctly, but that is the sentiment. And so it seems like the playing field is being leveled now from the rich and people who weren't privy to this information. So thank you for being such a great asset to a community that didn't have this information. And you made it so simple. Thank you for the recordings. Thank you for the step-by-step instructions. Things that we can go back and look at. So we do appreciate you. And thank you, Mondo. That was a great explanation of infinite banking. I know a number of people are talking about that, but they make it so complex. And his presentation was nice and succinct and very informative. So this has been an overall great experience. Definitely will recommend you to others.
All right, guys, so let's work together, okay? So I do have a program which teaches you guys step by step on how to set up these trusts, okay? So I have 3 different options here. The first one is do it yourself. So somebody's off of mute. I'm sorry. I don't know who's off of mute. Hold on one second. Hold on. All right, so the first option is do it yourself. So do it yourself is where we have our online course. And what happens is you're going to enroll into the course. It has 43 video modules where you're going to learn the ins and outs of how to set up these 3 different trusts, okay? So the 3 trusts are the ones that I told you about: the business trust, the family trust, and the tax-exempt nonprofit trust. And so what happens is you watch the videos, you download the templates, and you learn how to set it up yourself. I break down every single paragraph of this trust, and these trusts are like 60-something pages, right? So that you can learn the contents of the trust so you know how to operate it, okay? That's the most important thing. So when I tell you I'm thorough, I'm very thorough, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to show you guys in a minute what that course actually looks like, but you get lifetime access to the course. You get all the resources that you're going to need in order to properly operate a trust. So for example, you get like the application to apply for the EIN. You get templates on how to actually have a board meeting. You get the templates that you need in order to transfer your house into a trust, your car into a trust, things like that, right? You learn the ins and outs, and we provide you with all the templates, okay? And then you get the ebooks. So the books that I just mentioned, some of those books are going for $800. They're like super expensive. And so what you can do is you can get the electronic version in the program. And then lastly, we have community. So we have thousands of trustees in our community. And so we have a private Facebook community and we also have a Telegram chat. So inside of the chat, you can ask questions, you can connect with other like-minded people and people that are in your same city, in your same state, okay? And they are individuals that, one, are doing life with you. So they have already been a trustee, they've been a trustee for years, and they're just able to offer some support, okay? So the course is only $997, and then you have the second option. The second option is done with you. So in the done with you is where we do it together. So I show up on Zoom with you and we do it as a group, okay? So just like how we're showing up as a group today on Zoom. So it's 1 week long. It's Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the next workshop, right, is going to be August 25th to the 29th. So we only do the workshop once a month. And in the workshop, it is very, very, very thorough, okay? So you do get lifetime access to the workshops. So let me break down every single day of the workshop. So on Mondays, we go through the business trust. So I break down every single paragraph of the business trust so that you can learn the contents of the trust. And then I dive into Q&A where I'll answer all of your questions regarding the business trust. On Tuesday, we do the family trust together. We'll set that up. Once again, I break down every single paragraph of the trust so that you understand and know what's inside of the trust. You cannot operate a trust efficiently and effectively if you don't know what's inside of it, okay? All right, and so then we dive into Q&A so I can answer any and all of your questions. And then on day 3, we go through the tax-exempt nonprofit 508c1a trust, okay? So I break down every single paragraph of that trust, and then we dive into Q&A. And then if you guys want to become ordained, I show you the process on ordination, okay? So on Thursdays, what we do is we apply for our EINs. I'll show you how to set up a bank account and we go through banking procedures so that you can open up that trust. And then we go through funding. So I show you how to document how much you're going to fund the trust with. I provide you with all the templates. And then one of our educators comes in and teaches you how to get OPM. Okay, so he's going to break down business credit and business funding so you can get the money that you need for the trust organization so that you can acquire the assets, okay? And then lastly is Friday. So on Friday, we do everything dealing with asset protection. So I show you guys how to actually protect your assets and transfer them. So the first thing we do is an inventory of your assets so that you can know what's inside of your what assets you have and what is going to go inside of the trust and what doesn't qualify to go inside of the trust, okay? After that, then I show you how to put your property, your real estate into the trust. So we do it by way of a quick claim deed. So one I do is I show you how to fill out the quick claim deed and then how to get it recorded with the county recorder's office. The second thing is vehicles. So we show you how to fill out the bill of sale and how to submit it to the DMV. The next thing is businesses. So we show you how to fill out that business purchase agreement so that you're no longer liable for the business, and then how to do the amendments with the Secretary of State. And then lastly, I have a guest speaker who comes in. So sometimes our guest speaker comes in and talks about infinite banking. Sometimes our guest speaker talks about taxes. So we have CPAs in our community that are going to come in and teach you the tax strategies and educate you on the 1041 forms, okay? So with that being said, that's the workshop. Like I said, it's only once a month, okay? So the next one is coming up very soon. It's the last week of this month, okay? So with Done With You, you get the course, you get the community, you get the Telegram chat, but you get to show up live. And it is such a different experience when you showing up live on Zoom with other like-minded individuals because they are asking questions that you didn't even know you wanted to know. So you actually end up learning more. So the workshop is only $2,500. And like I said, you get lifetime access. So that means that you can attend in September, October, November, December, okay? All right, cool. And then the last option is Done For You. So Done For You is for individuals who they don't want to set up their trust documents themselves. And so my team will set up the trust documents. All right, so we'll set up all three trusts. And then we will apply for all of your EINs. We'll transfer all of your assets into the trust. So you get individualized support, you get extended support, and you get that opportunity to customize your trust for the needs of your organization, the needs of your family as well, right? So like one of my clients, she has a special needs child. So we're customizing her trust for her special needs child, right? So you get those types of opportunities, okay? So with the done for you, like I said, we do everything for you and then we ship your trust straight to your door, okay? So the done for you is actually $7,500. So I see the old prices here, but it's $7,500, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to show you what the course looks like. I also want to show you what a trust looks like, okay? So this is the online course. So you get this course with any one of the packages, with DIY, with the workshop, or with done for you, okay? And so like I told you, it's 43 video modules. So what happens is you're going to start here with trust entity. You learn what a trust is, who the parties involved, like the grantors, trustees, beneficiaries, successors, things like that. You learn how to set up the ministry trust. So we go through like declaration and bylaws and articles. You learn how to set up the family trust. So we go through that setup and how to get your EINs. We go through the indentures, declarations, and stuff for the business trust. And you learn about different tax strategies, like how to operate tax exempt, how to operate for-profit and nonprofit, how to determine what's distributable net income, things like that. Then we go through asset protection, where you take inventory, learn how to create. Somebody's off of mute. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry, it distracts me when there's so much noise. But anyways, you learn how to open up a bank account, a brokerage account, how to transfer your house, your cars, your policies, your businesses, and how to have board meetings, right? So how many of us are out here, and I've seen it all the time, where we're literally out here running businesses and we've never had a meeting for our business. That's not the way that you're supposed to operate your business, okay? If you never had a meeting for your business, you can't even sell your business even if you wanted to, okay? So we show you the proper way to document everything within your trust, okay? Then the next section is wealth creation, where we show you how to build credit for your trust, where we show you how to invest in the stock market and how to do the infinite banking and be your own bank. We show you how to establish a legacy crest, and then we have all the resources and all the ebooks that you're going to need. So I just wanted to quickly show you what a trust looks like. So this is an example of one of our trusts. And so what you do is you have everything that's in red is what you customize specifically for your trust, okay? So this is like, 60 something pages or whatever. And like I said, I break down every single paragraph of the trust. So with that being said, we are all done, you guys. Thank you so much for holding on. And we went 2 hours instead of an hour and a half. And I'm so grateful that you guys stayed until the entire presentation. So I want to go ahead and answer any questions that you guys might have. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop the links right now so that you guys can enroll into the program. And for everyone who decided to stay, so there's only 74 people who decided to stay. For those of you who decided to stay, what I'll do is I'll give you guys a 20% discount if you take action in the next 24 hours, okay? So let me go ahead and drop the links, and then I'll go ahead and answer the first question, which I see is Milani. Is it Milani?
You can say my name that way. I like it. It's Melanie, but it doesn't matter.
Melanie.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Melanie.
Thank you, darling. Wow, so much great information. I've been doing trust for 3 years now, but there are multiple holes in my structure. There are multiple holes in my understanding. We had a short conversation a couple days ago.
Oh, awesome. I remember. Yeah, I remember talking to you.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. Since this is an irrevocable trust, well, all three of them are all assets that you would put in the trust irrevocable, or is it just that first founding asset? Because I'm wondering, like, how do you sell a home that's in a trust? Do you sell the trust?
Oh, yeah, no, that's a really good question. So only one party has irrevocability, and that is the grantor. The grantor cannot liquidate any assets. The grantor can't terminate the trust, cannot revoke any assets. The grantor can't do anything. So it's only irrevocable to the grantor. The trustee is able to sell assets, acquire assets, terminate the trust, make changes or amendments to the trust. So it depends on the party.
And anyone can add assets to the trust, not just that first grantor. Can be.
Correct. Correct. It's in the body of the trust. So whenever you have questions or any discrepancy that comes up, you go to your trust contract, okay? And you have to be able to find the answer there. Or you would have to go and have a board meeting and a resolution to then be able to navigate through what's the best practice for your organization. But yes, it's inside of the trust contract that anyone can give property to the trust. And when we say anyone, we mean anyone, a stranger in the street, as long as the trustee approves that transfer.
The trustee has to approve it, okay. And then, thank you. And then where in law can I find that trust doesn't have to be the last word of the name in the title? I've always heard trust has to be the last word, but it's very cool if it's, I'm not second guessing you. I'm just wondering if you know where if you have the law or case law or US.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know off of the top of my head where to find it. So if you want to send us a message, then I'll have the team find it for you.
Okay, that'd be very awesome. And I just have one more question. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not taking up too much time. But I'm leaning toward the $2,500 course, and but if I did want to do just the $997, the first one, the do it myself, would I be able to like email questions, or is it just what I can get from the other participants in the Facebook group?
Yeah, you can email questions.
Okay, and then if I wanted to do that, the first course, and then would I be able to just pay you for a one-on-one session, like when I'm right there at the end, just to like go through it all and make sure I'm good?
Yeah, you can. So it's $250 for 60 minutes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I yield. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. I'll go
You're
mute.
welcome. All right, next we have Zoom user. You have your hand up.
Is that me you're talking about? Is that me you're talking about?
No, you're still on mute. Is there Zoom user has their hand up?
I have my hand up, but I'm not sure if you're referring to me.
Yeah. Well, let me see.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes. Is
Okay.
this
So I had two questions. It's kind of quick. One in regards to the IUL. Um, so if it's two people, like say you and your spouse or whatever, are you able to like replicate that system where you say like say you have like six figures, right? And you kind of like because I heard it takes over, a little time to kind of like create the income or whatever. So can you like put say 100 grand and then borrow against it and then do it again, like with somebody else, or that doesn't work?
you can so it's called loading your policy where
Right.
you'll put a large lump sum of money into the policy when you first create it. Sometimes they'll call it like single premium too, so it's all in the way that you structure it. So you have to structure it to where you put that large lump sum of money. And as long as it covers the surrender charge, you're able to borrow it back out right away. So it has to cover your surrender charge.
Okay, and then the other question, I watched a couple of your videos on YouTube and all that, and I noticed that you always said to consult a lawyer. Is that something that you guys have in your team, a lawyer that you can consult like to finalize everything, or do you have to go like independently and find your own lawyer, or how does it?
So we do have lawyers, but lawyers are state specific. So we always tell you to find your own just because like I'm located in Georgia and our lawyer is in Georgia.
For the Wyoming, it's still the same thing because I know you suggested like the Wyoming trust in one of your videos, or
So what's the question?
hello?
When you say is Wyoming the same thing, what do you mean?
Yes, is it like is it still your state lawyer for where you live at, or for Wyoming?
No, so if you are going to work with an attorney, it has to be within your state.
Okay. All right.
It
Thank you.
doesn't matter what state it is.
All right.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Next we have Terry. Hi, Terry. You're on
Can you hear
mute.
me
I
now?
can't hear you. Yeah, perfectly. How are you? Oh no, you're still on mute.
How's that?
Wonderful.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Unmuting. Okay, great. So, can you hear me now?
Yep. Go.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of
Yes,
all,
go for it.
thank you for sharing your heart. As you know, I've taken your course
You're
before.
welcome.
I've taken your course before, and thanks to you, all my trusts are set up. And what I love about it is that I'm able to go through it at my own pace, go back to the videos, chime in from time to time. And, both success and failure comes in small increments. And so I'm getting there. And so all of my stuff is set up. Here's where I'm at right now. I'm getting ready to fund my trust through the sale of some property. And what I'm going to do with that is, and the guy asked the question before, I know it's state specific, but I'm in New York, and I don't want to get to the table and the attorney or the title company is acting brand new, because I want to make sure that they understand that, the what is it, the stepped up basis happens at the time of sale. So again, the best way to find a lawyer who's just kind of familiar with that. I know we probably have a strong community from New York. Maybe there may be some folks who've used some attorneys and title companies that I could just go behind, because I'm getting ready to do this in a couple of weeks, and I just want to make sure they're on point. So that's just a comment I wanted to make. And if you know of any, or if I could tap into the community in some way, I'd love to do that, as I plan to.
Yeah, so what I can do is I can provide you with like the contact information from the people that we have in our community that are in New York. So I personally don't know if they've gone through the process, but I can, connect you with them. So, and we have a ton of people, a lot of people in New York, lots of people. Um, so yeah, that would be the best thing in order for you to have that conversation with them to see if they've already gone through the same process that you're about to go through.
Okay, awesome. Do you guys need my email, or you already have it?
I have it.
I
Everything's
know.
in
Okay.
everything's in our system.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Terry. Thank you as well.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Next we have Anthony.
Hey, Christine.
Hi.
Once again, you've over delivered.
Thank you.
Every time it's a blessing. You're an angel. Quick
Thank
question. I know one of the persons before said something in regards to dealing with an attorney in regards to your trust. Because it's non-statutory and attorneys are statutory, it's kind of hard to find an attorney who would deal with a non-statutory trust. So, I mean, I know it's state by state. So I was, just trying to gauge and get an idea. What would be your recommendation?
So as far as what do you need the attorney for?
I mean, I would just, because I know the person asked regarding the attorney. For me, it wouldn't really be no real reason for an attorney. Um, I was just like curious because he had brought that up, and I know you said you had an attorney that you was dealing with, so I was trying to figure out. And that was my other part of the question: what would attorney be used for when it's dealing with an irrevocable trust?
I mean, so it just depends on, the type of dealings that you have, right? So it depends on like the trust organization and if it needs to represent the trust and any type of contracts or transactions. So that's what I use my attorney for. because I do real estate. So I have a lot of other contracts and transactions. And so our attorney is a contract attorney. So they deal with all the contracts.
Another note, I need to I don't know if someone from your camp can send me an email. I can email them regarding the trip to Ghana.
Okay, yeah. If you could
I'm,
send us a message to the number, then my team will be able to send you the link.
I'm definitely going to be there.
Alrighty, thank you, Anthony. All right, next we have Jerome.
Hello?
Jerome, yeah,
Yeah, you can hear me?
yep, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks for everything you're doing. You know, it's a lot of information. And yeah, I know people who charging like 75,000 for all this information you're giving right now, so I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, so yeah, I did to the program, so I was just had a few questions. I was wondering, could the successor be a beneficiary too on the trust?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And also, I was thinking of a binder. Like, you know, I was looking at Amazon where they have binder that says on estate planning, and Office Depot also have like one that you could customize that come with certificates. So I'm wondering with the TCUs, does it have to the TCUs have to have like certificates printed out for them
So that's
for each
optional.
TCU?
Yeah, that's optional if you want to disperse actual certificate units or just have the disbursement documented inside of the trust.
Okay, okay, document. So you don't really have to have like no fancy binder that costs a whole bunch then, pretty much.
No, I recommend that you have a binder to keep your trust and all of your documents, and that you know, just to keep everything in order.
Okay, I understand. And also like say if your trust was in North Carolina but you buying a property in Texas, are you able to put that property that's in Texas within the trust that's based in North Carolina?
If you have a
Or
non-statutory trust.
so this one would be on the the ones that you're talking about is a non-statutory.
Correct.
Sorry. Okay then. All right then. Yeah, that's all I was trying to
All
ask.
right, thank you, Jerome. Next
All
we
right,
have
thanks.
Marquita. Marquita, are you still available? All right.
Yes, just struggling to get off of mute. Okay. A quick question. I don't know if you could answer it or if I have to talk to tax specialist or something. But anyway, quick question. If I'm getting ready to use money from my paycheck and I guess to have it directly deposited into the trust in order to cover the life insurance policies. Now, this isn't it's just a regular trust, so it's not like the ministry trust where it's like a nonprofit. So, do you have to use the capital contribution form or a promissory note so that it's not going to be taxed as income, or do you want it to be shown as income so that the trust shows that the trust has income coming in and you could use that to leverage like getting funding later on?
Yeah, so you don't want to be double taxed on that money that's coming in. So you want to use the promissory note to document that that money that's coming in is a loan.
Okay, okay, great. And if you don't have any income, do you still file the 1041? Um, just put like zero for the trust
Yeah,
every year.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Zero.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next we have Gary. Gary, are you still available? All right, next we have Lizanne.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just calling from Canada here. So I'm just curious as to how whether or not you guys help people across the border.
So the trusts that we have are domestic and they're intended to be utilized in the United States and US territories.
So you wouldn't be able to help me, unfortunately. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next we have is it Takashime?
It's Takashimaya. Hi.
Takashimaya. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Yourself?
Wonderful.
All right. I just have one question because I want to know the answer to it. What every trust that you set up, they all have a different EIN number?
Yeah, they're separate entities, separate EINs.
Okay. And just one more quick question. Could you explain indenture again? Because I really didn't get that.
Yeah, so the indenture is your bylaws. So that's like the rules and regulations of how you want the trust to be operated. And how so those are the like the provisions that the trustee has to follow through with.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your help, and it's been a wonderful Zoom call. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Next we have, is it Lily?
Yes, it's Lily. Hi, Christine. I've been
Hi.
watching a lot of your YouTube videos, so I'm excited to be here. I was inquiring regarding a grantor. Could you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Now, I understand that some say that you cannot have a relative be the grantor because it has to be at arm's length, so it won't be considered an alter ego. Uh, how would you explain? Because I was talking to a friend of mine about being a grantor, and she's automatically was thinking about the revocable trust. She doesn't understand nothing about the irrevocable. So they automatically think they got to pay taxes. How would you go about trying to explain to someone to become a grantor?
Yeah, so you just have to let them know that it's irrevocable and that they don't have any power and control if they are serving as the grantor and that they're going to be only responsible for two things. So the first thing is to actually execute the trust with you. And the second thing is for them to acquire the EIN for you. But you need to let them know that the trust is not them, they are not the trust, and so the trust files its own taxes, and the person who's responsible for filing that tax form on behalf of the trust is the trustee, which is you.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for for inquiring that because everybody just asks the computer automatically. They get to their phone and they're like, start asking the chat GPT what's irrevocable and they go by that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's going through that. So, and another question that I have to ask for was regarding I have a LLC. So, in order for me to go ahead and put my business under, and I just started it before this, and I was like, oh no. So, I have to fill out the amend, I have to amend to the Secretary of State and put the trust under as the owner and get my name off, right?
Yep, the articles of organization is what you completed when you formed the LLC, so you have to amend those articles.
Do I have to fill out a certain form for that? What's
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, with the respective Secretary of State where you form the LLC. You have to go
when I
to,
go, I just tell them I want to amend the name of the owner and then put the name of the trust as the owner. Do I put myself as like for the name of, I put the name of the trust and then myself, I'll just put down as let's see, secretary, or do I put myself as a manager?
LLCs have authorized members. So you're going to remove yourself as the authorized member and you're going to add the trust as the new authorized member.
Okay, and then my job there, I don't put anything under, just the name. I thought because they have the name of the owner, and then they had a percentage. So then I just put 100% for the trust, right?
Correct.
Thank you so much. That's all.
Okay, you're welcome. Next we have Liwa.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I keep joining your classes, and I'm one of those who have never actually initiated the trust because I just get overwhelmed. But anyway, I think I'm catching up. So my question is, if you have a mortgage on your home, you're still able to put that into a trust?
Yeah, the house doesn't need to be paid off. So as long as you have the deed to the home and you are on the deed, then you're able to sign over that property to the trust, and you need to redeed it. So if there's 2 owners or 3 owners, then all of the owners have to sign the new deed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the mortgage remains intact. It remains in your personal name and on your personal credit.
I see. I see. And where do you go through the mortgage to redeed, or you go through the city?
So you have to, I mean, we provide you with the templates for the deed.
Mhm.
But you can go through a title company if you want. Or you can go straight to the clerk of courts. They also provide you with deed templates as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The last question, you mentioned something that I didn't understand the other question that someone had about a promissory note. And I guess that's related to how do I get my W-2 income into the trust? I tell does it still go to the bank first and then I move it, or I'm trying to get my job to direct deposit it into
I
a
mean,
trust?
it depends. It depends on your job. So some people are like 1099s, and you can change your W-9 straight to the trust for the trust to be paid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on your employer if you're W-2, if they want to pay your entity instead of you.
I
So that's
see.
something that you need to discuss with them.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we have Jerome again.
Oh yeah, I had one more question.
Yes,
I was
sir.
wondering for the ministry portion, after you get ordained, do you have to have the certificate with you to get it notarized and open a bank account? Is it
Um,
necessary to have it?
After, are you talking about your like your ordination certificate?
Yes.
It just goes inside of your binder for your 508.
Yeah, I understand. But I mean, like when you're getting it notarized though, like do you have to have that with you, get it mailed to you before the
N-
paperwork get notarized?
No, not no. The notarization is all you have to do is provide your identification because it's your name on there. So your
Okay.
driver's license or passport.
And like when you open in a bank account, do you think the bank personnel will ask for that? Or
No,
okay then. All right then, cool. That's what I was thinking about. Thanks.
you're welcome. All right, and then we have Gary.
Hello, Christina. Good evening.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Oh, okay. You
I
can
can.
hear me this time. I'm so glad. I was
Yeah.
on I was on the phone before. I was in between a Bible study, and I just want to commend you. You are so awesome. You're such a wealth of information, and your patience, and you keep it an exuberance. You keep it exciting. So I'm thankful for you. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you
I
so
got a
much for
question. I got a
sharing.
question. Are you doing the August training?
Yes, sir. It's August 25th to the 29th.
Oh, okay, because I didn't get a invitation as yet.
Yep, it's coming soon.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm
Absolutely.
moving a little slow with my trust and all. I sent the templates in to your team
Yeah.
for some advice and anything, but I'm ready to get my trust notarized.
Okay.
I'm ready to start working them. I think I got all my ducks in a row. So I'm ready to start working the trust. I got to get some properties assigned to the trust like as soon as possible.
Okay.
Also, and forgive me
Congrats.
for being off camera. I like for you to see me. So normally I do come on camera. So I also need the information for a person that is not able to handle their affair, not able to handle their incompetency. I think that's the term that we use for those people. It's kind of hard, that term incompetent, but if it's true and people
Or
can't handle, they can't
if
handle
they're,
the money. So
yeah.
can you send
Okay.
me something that goes along with the indenture for a person that is a beneficiary that would not be able to handle, what is it, a joint, some type of account that set up separately for that person, so a trust that is set up separately. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have those provisions inside of the trust for minors or incompetent individuals who are beneficiaries. So a couple different things happen. So for example, let's just say that it's a minor, then it'll go to their legal guardian or their court-appointed guardian, or if they have a conservator. Or it'll go directly to the trustee for the trustee to be able to pay their bills, or a portion of it can go to the beneficiary, and then the other portion of it will go to the trustee so that the trustee is able to assist. And lastly, if they're like in a group home or a nursing home, then it'll go to the facility that's providing the care for the individual. So that verbiage is inside there. So if you message us and send us that request, we'll be able to send you the verbiage that's inside of the trust, and then we'll be able to assist you with whatever else you need. So some people, they're looking for power of attorney, some people are looking for medical advance directives. So there's a couple different things. So if you just send us that offline, we'll be able to assist further, okay?
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't mean to be redundant because you said everything is in the indenture. To look in the trust and you'll find it. So there it is. I did read everything that you said. I did hear you say that there are a couple of extra nuances there. So I will email the team.
Yeah, and they'll point it out to you. So that's why if you send us the email, then they'll point it out to you where you can find it, the page, they'll highlight everything, so that you can see that the verbiage is there already. And if you want to add anything additional. So we do have members in our community that they have disabled children or special needs children, and they add more provisions inside of there to protect those beneficiaries.
Okay, that's the
So
term.
so there might be additional provisions that you might need, okay?
I thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You're welcome. All right, just want to say good night to everyone. Thank you so much for being here and attending the whole webinar. I just want you to take action on the information that I sent you guys tonight and that I told you guys tonight, because it is extremely powerful for you guys to change the trajectory of your families, okay? So with that being said, like I said, the next workshop is August 25th to the 29th if you guys are interested. And for those of you guys that are still on the call, if you want to go ahead and enroll, you can enjoy 20% off. So the discount is Trust 20 if you use it at the checkout. So with that being said, good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Christina,
Christina.
Miss
Yes.
Christina,
Hey,
I'm sorry. I don't know how to use the hand, so please forgive me.
Oh,
I
no
have
problem.
a question. You know, what's the company that you get the life insurance policy with?
Oh, it's called Solomon Financial Solutions. It's inside of the chat. Do you see the chat?
Okay, let me look at the bottom. I'm not okay. I see the chat. Yes. Okay.
Do you see I can hold on, let me go ahead and repost it. Let's see if I can do that. Wait a minute, where is it?
I also had a question also.
Okay. What's your question?
Make that three of us.
Yeah, my
I was
question.
ready to cut it off. Okay. Do
Yeah,
you
I
do
got
you
a
see
question
the
too.
Yeah, my
do
name is
you
Jason.
see the okay, one second. Do you see the link for the life insurance company?
I don't. I'm
It's
sorry.
at the bottom of the chat.
Do you see the chat?
Okay, yeah, I see the chat. Okay. I got it. I got it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I'm
All right.
muted.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and then who's next? Jason has a
Uh,
question. Is it
yes,
Jason?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. How are you today?
I'm wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a member also, and I want to tell you, you did a excellent job. I'm in the process of trying to get this set up, but I had a few questions. The first question, you mentioned a one-on-one with you. How do I go about doing that for the $250 for 60 minutes?
Oh, okay. So you just have to send a message. If you send a message, then the team will be able to send you the link.
Okay, and I'll be talking to you directly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then the other thing I had a question is the naming of the trust. How do we know this if we name our trust that someone else has that name or not? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so it's kind of challenging because you are setting up a private trust, and since it's not registered publicly, you don't know if someone else has a name. So you can go as far as looking up the names on the public records. Another way that you can find out is if you are applying for the EIN, the IRS will let you know if there's an entity with the same name.
Okay, go through the IRS. And then my third question is the telegraph. How do we get in touch with the community through the telegraph? Do we use the business name of your company or?
No, so there's an invitation link that you got via email when you enrolled. So if you send us a message, the team will be able to send you the Telegram link.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Jason. Okay. Is there anyone else who had a question?
Yes, I got a question.
Okay, this is Marley.
Yeah, this is. All right, I actually got a few questions. All right, so I own like 5 properties and I run a trucking company. I really need to get mine set up, but one of my main questions is I had my one of my properties in my old business name, which is Marley's Property Services. It's since then closed. I still own the property and everything, but how would I acquire the deed to that property since the business actually got revocated? It closed down.
Okay, so you should have the deed to your property. If you don't
I
have the
lost it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So all the deeds are recorded with the county recorder's office, so you have to contact the
Yeah.
county.
Come on
Okay.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So just contact the county recorder's office.
Yeah, so
And
contact the clerk of courts in your county, and the recorder's office has
If you bought the
okay.
property, you
all
never
the
get it.
recorded deeds.
Okay, and then my second question is I paid for the do it yourself. Is there a way to like upgrade it to do with the community?
Yeah, absolutely. You can upgrade at any time. So if you send us a message telling us that you want to upgrade, then we will send you a
Oh,
link so
that's
that
good
you
to
can
know.
pay the difference. So all you have to do is just pay the difference, and then you can attend the next workshop. So our next workshop is August 25th to the 29th.
Okay, all right. And then I just send a message to like your email.
Yeah, you can email it or you can text it. So like the number that you receive, like the Zoom link reminders, you can text
Yep.
that.
Okay, all right, awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Marley. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Okay, was there someone else? Is it you, Bridget, that had a question?
Yes, Christina, this is Bridget. I just want to say I have been doing this for like a couple of weeks now, binging your videos. It's been an amazing journey. I just want to thank you so much for all the information. And I Come totally on, Bridget. align, totally align with you, man. I totally align with you. And
you.
picking up what you're laying down, girl. And I can't wait to start this journey to something, more powerful. My question
Thank
is, you're welcome, my dear. The question that
Gets on my
nerve. The question that I have is that with this life insurance, I don't know how it works or anything. So when you go to buy life insurance, do you have to have money to start your life insurance policy? And if you do, like how much, then if you have to have money is one. And then the other one is after you uh, get your life insurance, how long before you can start using it for a pass-through?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. Okay, so do you need money to start the life insurance policy? Yes, you do need money. You can start your policy with whatever dollar amount that you want. So if you want to tell them, hey, I want to pay $100 a month, then they'll set up your policy and they'll structure it to where you pay $100 a month. So it has to be, you have to tell them basically how you want it to be structured, okay? Now, when you start your policy, you're going to start paying those premiums. So let's just say it's $100 a month, right? And there's something called a surrender charge. The surrender charge, I like to look at it as a security deposit. And so you're paying into the surrender charge. Once the surrender charge is paid in full, then you're able to access your cash value. So let's just say that your surrender charge is $1,000, right? So you're paying your $100 a month, but let's just say 10 is going to the carrier and 10 is going to the surrender charge, and then the other, 80 is going to the policy. It's going to take a long time for you to be able to cover that surrender charge. Let's just say it takes a year. Once that year is up and your surrender charge is paid in full, then at that point in time, you get to access your cash value. Now, you do get the surrender charge back as long as your policy doesn't get canceled within 2 years. So that's why I say it's a security deposit, because once that 2 years is up and your policy didn't cancel, then that $1,000 that was a surrender charge goes straight back into your cash value.
Okay, so once your surrender charge is paid in full, then you can access your cash flow. And then so how like, and how do you know how much is in there? Like, do you just like say you put your own amount of your insurance policy, like 100,000 or 500,000 or whatever you're wanting, and then you can borrow against that amount or
Yeah,
cash through
whatever.
against
Yeah.
that amount?
Yeah, whatever is
Okay.
in there. So even if it accumulated and earned compound interest, whatever is in there, the carrier, so one is you get login credentials, you get to log in and see your policy. So you can log in and see what the cash value is. You can also call them and ask them what the cash value is. And then when you go to initiate that loan, they'll let you know how much you can borrow. So some let you borrow 70, I mean, excuse me, not 70, 97%. Some let you borrow 95%. Some let you borrow 90%. It depends on the carrier. And so you'll let them know what you want to borrow, right? So if you have 10,000 in there, you're like, hey, I only need 5,000. You're borrowing 50%, so they'll give you the whole 5,000, right? But if you say, hey, I want 97%, then they'll give you the 97%. But that's pretty much the maximum, because they want you to have at least a little cushion in there left over, which is that little 3% of the cash value that you have left over.
The other thing is, I'd like to let you know, I would really love to have some information as well about that Ghana trip. I'd love to join you there. That'd be awesome and amazing.
Yay!
I would also like to extend you an invitation to come and do one of your seminars here in Washington State. I would love to have you up here.
Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you so much, Bridget. Yes, yes, yes.
You are so welcome. And I am looking into doing your workshop on the 25th?
Yep, 25th. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, I'm looking forward to welcoming you on that workshop. It's going to be fantastic, and you're going to learn a lot. If you think you learned a lot now, or even on the YouTube channel, you won't even be able to grasp what you learned a week long in the workshop.
So yeah, I'm just really excited, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I can come up with that and be able to jump in on that. It's going to be a great opportunity. Thank
Yes,
you. You're amazing.
thank you as well,
Keep it up,
Bridget.
hon.
Yes, thank you. You have a good rest of your evening, and thank you for being on
You
the
as well.
webinar today.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you.
All right. Next we have Nana, and then we're gonna wrap it up, you guys. It's a couple minutes to 10 p.m.
I dropped something in the chat.
Okay.
I didn't know we weren't doing the chat. So
Okay. Let me see what do you want to just tell me what it is, or
it was the question regarding the transfer of death deed earlier. in the seminar, you asked a question about probate and everything. If I have on a couple of my properties and I have not started the trust yet, if something happens tomorrow, if I have this transfer of death deed, will this stand up and out of probate for my children that I've left it to?
Yeah, it's hard for me to answer that question. I really don't.
In Texas, I know I'm in Texas, so I know the laws are different per state.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. All righty. Well, I had an attorney that told me that, and I just thought, but another one is about a conservatorship for my 8-year-old grandson. How would what type of trust would I need to set up for him until he gets 18?
Yeah, so usually what we do is we'll do like the personal trust, which we call the family trust, if you want to set it up for any minors in your family.
Okay. All right. Well, you've been phenomenal as usual. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you as well.
All righty.
Nana, do you have a question?
Yes. Well,
Oh,
not really a question, not really a question, but just to put a face to who you've been talking to, the crazy woman.
oh no, no. How are you?
You're good. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. I told you that last Wednesday when you called me, and I so appreciate you because as I told you, you know, I've been praying and talking to God about all of this whole thing, and when I go back and look to see what I've been doing all these years, I've been on a rat on that wheel, having all the pieces, but working at a slower pace. But once, you know, I just happened to, you just popped up on my YouTube in the middle of the night, 1, 2 o'clock in the night. it just it just put all the pieces together, that knowing that I've been on the right track and that God has been aligning that journey. And so I have the business, I have the nonprofit, just not on paper. And so which is all taxable. You know, if somebody was to see it, they would say, oh, and it's coming in my personal name. So to make a long story short, because I know it's getting late over there, um, of course, I told you I'll be in Ghana. So please, please, please let me know when, because I'm going in November to go back home. But today, you working me.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
getting,
good thing.
I'm getting, I'm getting no sleep, and my boyfriend is like, "Oh, you need some sleep," and I'm like, "No, I need to get this done." So I finished all of the paperwork. Now it's just getting all the EINs and sending all the paperwork to the grantor, let them sign off on it, and then letting them sign off on it, and then uh, finalizing everything and opening up accounts. So just to encourage everybody, today I just did the paperwork for the 508. So I took it down there. They didn't give me any problems with the notary. Other than the fact that they wanted to look at it and stuff. So I took like the first 3 pages, I believe, and then there was something in the middle with the bylaws, and then at the end there was like 3 or 4 pages. So I took all that and I just kind of took out the body of the trust and just took those documents and let them notarize those. And then I've already got the EIN. So tomorrow I apply for the EIN for the family trust today, and then tomorrow I'll take those down there and let them notarize those, and then on Friday, more or less Monday, because I'll be off on Monday and Tuesday, and I'll do the business one then. So I'm just kind of ticking away at it. And I did do the DIY. And yes, as the lady before me, she's in Washington. Yeah, we need to get you over here. But I've been telling people everywhere about you, and people are just like, send me that link, send me that sister's link. And when they watch you, they're like, wait a minute, she's on to something here.
Yeah.
But and in closing, I know you said something about an affiliate. If you refer, right,
Yeah.
there's a benefit for referring. How do you do that?
Oh yeah, so I put the link inside of the chat. So if you want to become an affiliate, if you decide that you want to refer our program, then what happens is you get 20% of the enrollment fee that they were charged. And just as a thank you for being our affiliate. So you do have to apply. to be our
Okay.
affiliate. It takes 2 minutes, and then from there we give you access to an online portal where you'll get a specific affiliate link. That's the link that you want to share with everyone so that in the system they register as one of your referrals. And then once they enroll, you'll see how much commission you've generated off their enrollment. And yeah, it's
Is there a fee for
a
the
good.
affiliate?
No. Yeah, you
So,
can be, yeah, it doesn't cost to become an affiliate. So it's just our
okay,
way of saying thank you, but we want to be able to track. And so that's why
right.
we track any referrals that click on your link. You can see them there. And then
Okay.
we track your commission, and then we pay
Okay.
out commission every 2 weeks.
Now, you put it in the chat, but I know when the Zoom is over, that will go away. Is
Correct.
there any way to get it after? Can you text it to me? Just
Oh
text it to
yeah.
so I'm Nana Ya on profile, but it's Tracy Lungat.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
I-
it.
I'll text it to you, Tracy.
Okay. I appreciate you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. And and
You're
and thank
welcome.
you for putting a face to a name, because I know we've had conversations over the phone. So thank you.
Okay. See you. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Thank you. All right. I think Craig said, oh no, is it Craig or Kathy? I'm sorry, I don't see the name. Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Are you able to come off of mute?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I wanted to ask a quick question. So I spoke to someone yesterday, not that's affiliate with you or anything. This was another guy with Primerica, and I was gonna get a whole life insurance policy with him, and he said whole life is better than the IUL.
Mm.
So, because he
I
said it builds cash value that I
I,
can
I,
like.
and IUL builds cash value too. So the difference between whole life and IUL, they both insure your entire life. Okay, they both insure your whole life. The difference is that whole life you earn dividends, and then so it's not the same thing. So with an index universal, with the IULs, you earn compound interest, and you're still building cash value. And with the whole life, you earn dividends and you're still building cash value. But with the whole life, you get a smaller amount because it's dividends, it's a lower rate. So you'll earn like 3.5, maybe 4%. With an
Okay.
IUL, you're going to earn more because the S&P 500 indice is, performing. And so
Mhm.
you'll earn more. So you'll earn 8%, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? You'll earn more with the IUL. So I'm not sure why he said that. I don't even think that Primerica offers IULs. And so sometimes you got to be careful with who you're talking to, because if you're talking to an agent and they don't even have the product to offer you, they're going to discourage you from using that product because they can't sell it to you.
Okay. Well, I already have my trust set up. I had that set up before I discovered you. We
Mhm.
have a business trust, we have a family trust, and we have a nonprofit trust.
Mhm.
So the only trust that we have EIN for is the business trust.
Mhm.
So how would I get, should I just set up a call with you so you could direct me into getting the other two EIN so I can start funding those accounts?
Yeah, if you need any assistance. So if you just send a message to the text message, the number, yeah, you can just send us a message and we'll be able to assist.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Thank you to everyone who stayed on the call. I really appreciate it. So you guys have a highly favored rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next workshop. So bye for now. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.